We would like at this time to call to order our Tuesday, May the 2nd, 2023 Lynchburg City School Board meeting to order. Thankful for everyone's presence in person and watching through our various mediums that we have. Members of the board, you have before you the agenda that has been featured on board docs. And at this time, is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Preston and seconded by Dr. Carter to approve the agenda. Any further questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
School Board Member Ms. Preston.
Yes.
School Board Member Mr. Trost.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Sinha.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Brennan.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Coleman.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Carter.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Gupta.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Day.
Yes.
School Board Member Mr. Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now stand and share in our Pledge of Allegiance, which is so important. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Coleman.
Yes, sir. You may, Dr. Gupta.
So I just wanted to say Dr. Coleman lost his loving mother yesterday, and I'm thankful that he's here today. So hopefully all will keep him and his family in our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gupta, and thank each of you for your love. It is so well appreciated. Truly, I know I'm partial. There is no greater family than the Lynchburg City School family. Thank each of you.
She denied me as her son.
No.
I was wearing shorts and T-shirts. She said, "No, you don't look like my son."
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. At this point, we'll move to Section C, our special presentation, and we have some powerful presentations tonight. According to the order that I have, the first presentation will be done by our very dynamic and powerful City Council Clerk, and she is doing a fabulous job. And Ms. Finney, thank you for coming tonight. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Brennan, the school board members. My name is Alicia Finney, and I am the Clerk of Council for the City of Lynchburg. And I want to thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you all today and to reach your viewing audiences. I'm here to give you a brief overview for the 2023 school board appointment process that has changed just a little bit. And I just want to give you also an overview of our schedule. So currently, the school board application period is open, and we are actively accepting applications from interested candidates. Applications can be found on the city's website, also linked on the school's website, and also I've got hard copies in my office. If I need to drop one in the mail, happy to do that for you, as well as make an appointment to come by and fill it out in person. The application period will remain open through May 9th, at which point City Council will hold a public hearing on appointments to the school board. Now, state code does dictate that no applicant whose name is not considered at a public hearing can be appointed to the school board. So I'd encourage folks to get their applications in early for that. In addition to reading the names into the record, the purpose of the public hearings are to benefit the candidates to address City Council and speak to their qualifications, as well as for parents to voice their opinions on the candidates. At this point, I know at least the names of all the candidates will be released to the public, like they have in the past. And then historically, council continues that public hearing to the following regularly scheduled meeting. So in this case, it'll be on May 23rd. Council is posed to hold another public hearing. The application period will remain open until the 23rd, and with the same rules as before applying, that no applicant whose name is not considered at a public hearing can be appointed to the school board. Now, the part that's new this year is at the close of this public hearing, City Council will remain in open session and review and discuss applications filed with the Clerk of Council office to determine those individuals to interview. And then on the week of June 5th, you'll hold a slate of public special hearings for the purpose of conducting interviews with candidates. Again, these will be open to the public as well as live streamed. And then on June 13th, during council's regularly scheduled meeting and during the general business portion of that meeting, Council will discuss candidates that were interviewed and ultimately appoint 3 members to the school board for new terms commencing July 1 of 2023 and expiring on June 30th, 2026. Again, this will be done in open session. Dr. Brennan in District 1 and Dr. Sinha in District 2, you both are eligible to serve another term, and this would be your final if you're interested. And Dr. Coleman in District 3, first appointed in June of 2014. You have served a dutiful 9 years to this board, to the students, and to your community. And your third and final term will be expired on June 30th of this year.
Yes, ma'am.
On a personal note, I have really enjoyed working with you in our partnership, and I will miss your leadership style. It's been very productive, I'd say.
Thank you.
A couple additional points to make really quickly. I have already received several applications, and I am in receipt of those, but if anybody just wants to double check, please call my office. And then also, I am able to read comments into the record for public hearings. Please don't make it 49. And I can also play voicemails for you as well, if you're unable to attend or if you have somebody who wants to speak on your behalf. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody would have.
All right, any questions? Dr. Carter?
The only thing I don't see is in prior years, beginning in 2020, 2018, there was a requirement also to have the criminal background check.
That is
And
correct.
If you weren't
So
interviewed, I mean, if you didn't pass that, you didn't get an interview.
that is correct. So once council whittles it down to the 3 that will be representing each district, you will be subject to a background check. That's absolutely right.
And the conditions is you have to pass that background.
That is correct. Mhm. And I work with your clerk, Ms. Day, to help make sure all of that is taken care of.
Dr. Gupta?
So when would you be making the name of applicants public, the ones who have applied?
So for the May 9th meeting, I will have everybody up until the Thursday prior is when I post the packet. So all those meetings will be available. And then May 9th, going into the meeting, I'll do an update to show the list of people. And I might try to do that daily, depending on the amount of applications I get in. But there will be alerts going out on our meeting management system for that. Good question, thank you.
All right, Dr. Day?
Is it appropriate for you to tell us at this point how many applicants you have?
You know, that is definitely appropriate. I don't know. It's been since last year that I'm pulling them, since the last time that you were appointed. So I'd say maybe 7.
Okay.
But if you'd like an actual number for that, I'm happy to get that for you.
That's,
A good handful.
yeah.
All right. Anyone else? I think it's a major statement that the clerk of council would take time out of her busy schedule to come over and make sure that we communicate. How often do you say it? Early and often?
Early and often.
Early and often. And so, again, you are doing an amazing job. Thank you for your working with our capable board clerk and managing all of this. And I do appreciate you being kind and not saying that 2014 is when Thomas Jefferson was born. But at any rate, I do thank you for, any other questions from the members of the board? Yeah, Dr. Day.
Can I just move that we express our thanks to Alicia for all that she does for the city?
Yes, and because of the nature of it, that is moved, seconded, and approved without any discussion. Let's give her a big hand. Thank you, Ms. Finney. All right, at this time, now we're getting ready to do something so very, very significant. And Dr. Edwards, I'd like you to lead in to Dr. Brennan, who's going to do the reading for tonight.
Okay, so speaking of coming off the board and terming out, we do have 2 very dynamic school board member reps who this is their last school board meeting with us. So Kaylin and Cameron. We are just so excited for having you this year and working with you all and having you challenge us and be role models for us in times of chaos, but also just being wonderful students that you are and sharing with us all the wonderful things that have been happening in your schools and in our division. And as a token of our appreciation, we'd like to celebrate and honor you and make you smile tonight, just to show you how important you are to us. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brennan, who is going to read a couple things.
Great. So Cameron and Ken, I also want to add my my thanks to what you've done. You know, in the past, we've had several representatives from the schools. We've had people have not been able to come, and you all have come so regularly, and your presentations have been so great. You've set the bar very high for the people who will follow you, but thank you all very much. So, we have a resolution of commendation and appreciation to Cameron Flager and Kaylin Snyder, presented by the Lynchburg City School Board. Cameron Flager and Kaylin Snyder were selected by their peers to represent EC Glass and Heritage High School on the Lynchburg City School Board during the 2022-2023 school year. The Lynchburg City School Board views this desire to serve in public life as the worthiest of ambitions. With this resolution, the Lynchburg City School Board seeks to pay tribute to Cameron Flager and Kaylin Snyder, students who have conscientiously worked to keep their students' bodies viewpoint before the Lynchburg City School Board. In doing so, they have fulfilled their responsibility and made a valuable contribution to public education in this community. Whereas Cameron Flager and Kaylin Snyder have served Lynchburg City Schools as the EC Glass and Heritage High School student representatives to Lynchburg School Board from November 2022 until May 2023, and whereas Cameron Flager and Kaylin Snyder served as role models for their peers, excelling as leaders and voices for their schools by participating in important school board discussions that directly affect their peers, whereas Cameron Flager and Kaylin Snyder attendance at Lynchburg City School Board meetings demonstrated their commitment to their role as champions for the best possible educational experience for all students. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Lynchburg City School Board of Lynchburg, Virginia commends Cameron Flager and Kaylin Snyder for their many valuable contributions in providing the school board with yet another viewpoint for their consideration and guidance. Furthermore, the school board of the city of Lynchburg takes pride in these superior individuals who so early in their lives have already begun to make their marks by taking such an active part in public life in Lynchburg, Virginia. Thank you both very much.
That being said, we have some presentations that will be given to each of you, and I'm going to ask that Dr. Edwards and Dr. Brennan will assist in this. And so you're going to each get a copy of what was just read as a resolution coming to each of you with your names on it. We have a card with each of you, and the card's got a little weight to it so that it can.
Favorite kind.
Okay, so Dr. Edwards, that's Kaylin. Kaylin and, hold on. Kaylin. Okay. And this is Cameron, and this is Cameron. I just go shake the hand. Okay, all right.
Didn't know you were getting gifts, did you? That is Cat.
Thank you so much.
Wonderfully earned.
You can even get like a handshake with
The board make a picture with the board?
Yeah.
Great service
Yep.
to us. Anything we can do?
Dr. Irvin, should we do a picture with the board?
Yes, we should.
We definitely want to get a picture with these two distinguished Virginians who are going to go on to do great things.
You know you have to go to the middle, right? Where the standard picture is.
Yes, how you want to do the picture?
Yeah, come on in, both of you in the center, and Walt is going to, Floyd going to take a great picture for us.
All right, y'all know the drill.
Okay. Okay, yes, sir.
There you go.
You young lady a little closer there. I think I've got everybody. Here we go. On three. 1, 2, cheese. Cheese.
Stay right there for a
Stay
second.
put. Stay put. Stay put.
Yeah,
Parental photos.
By your names.
I hope I didn't miss your.
Keep tripping. Wait.
All right, let's give both of them another hand and thank them. They giving their presentation now?
No.
Okay, very good. Now we're going to the third piece here, which is staff appreciation. Dr. Edwards?
Sure. So it is Staff Appreciation Week. Actually, every day is Staff Appreciation, especially days like today when I'm just grateful for the staff that we have. But we take time during the end of the year to recognize staff that have been with us for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, even 40 years, given service to public education, Lynchburg City Schools. We have our distinguished retirees also, folks that have been here who have served our children and our families and are now going to retire with the proviso that you can come back and substitute and do some additional work, retirees. And also our Teachers of the Year from each of our buildings, our support staff members from the year from each of our buildings, and our division-wide LCS Teacher of the Year. So it's a lot to celebrate in terms of staff, but each one of my staff members is valued, treasured, and so much appreciated. So if you're listening and you haven't heard that today, just know that we here at this table love you and that we appreciate you, and there is no replacement for you.
Right.
We have a little video that we want to show in recognition of staff appreciation, and then we will bring up the LCS Division-wide Teacher of the Year.
Hello, LCS. My name is Crystal Edwards, and I am here to celebrate staff. It is Staff Appreciation, and what a wonderful opportunity for me as a superintendent to stop, reflect, and just admire all of the hard work that staff put in here at LCS. Whether it's caring for kids' nutritional needs, making sure that they understand that reading passage, helping them remember their lines in a play, having them run the perfect down and out on a football field, or just being a voice to listen to a young child tell about their day. Our staff here are committed to our children. They're committed to our families, and it is a wonderful partnership we have here at LCS. I cannot be more proud to work with these talented people, these wonderful individuals who give heart and soul for the children of LCS every single day. So won't you join me as we appreciate the staff here at LCS?
Couldn't be more proud of Mr. Carter. He's all about the students. He's all about the kids. And His commitment to them goes much beyond contract hours. You have to pull him away from here sometimes. And I'm excited after 32 years that he's had an education that he gets to be honored and selected.
We are so very proud of you for all of the work that you have done. We're proud about what you're about to do going forward, and it gives me great pleasure to announce the LCS Teacher of the Year, Mr. Albert Carter.
As well, it makes me want to do better so that I can live up to this honor, and I feel encouraged. I think it's given me some new wind in my sails, and I'm looking forward to the next 30 years. Now, I don't know if it's that long, but I'm looking forward to more years with Lynchburg City Schools. It's not the end yet.
Education. And those people who have been in it for 10, 20, 30, and even 40 years, dedicating themselves, their lives, to our children here at LCS. That takes a huge commitment, a big heart, and loads of care for our kids. We are so pleased and so proud that we have so many individuals right here in LCS that have been here for a very long time helping our students. That type of commitment does not go unnoticed. So to my staff who have dedicated their lives 10, 20, 30, 40 years of service to LCS, I salute you, I applaud you, and I hope the next generation of educators, support staff are watching you, because our kids deserve every minute of those years. So we happen to be spoiled tonight, and in the audience is a rock star Teacher of the Year. I'd like to just invite up Mr. Albert Carter.
Thank you very much. I want to clarify, I think I was only 8 when I started teaching. I was 28. But, thank you so very much, school board and Dr. Edwards and Dr. Coleman and guests and everyone involved in Lynchburg City Schools for this great honor. I really, truly am humbled. Yesterday, when I was tricked into going into the auditorium, I felt like I just was tingling all over, and just the adrenaline and the honor, and to receive this honor is quite probably one of the best experiences in my life. And I have truly enjoyed my years here at LCS. I've been fortunate enough to teach a lot of wonderful children. Kaylin is one of my students.
All right.
Just make a lot of memories, a lot of relationships with the children that still, again, crop up to this day. I've got a lot of children that now are adults. I'm teaching their children. And so it's really an honor to do this. One of the things that I like to do is bring experiences into the lives of my students. For example, we're actually getting ready to take a music trip this weekend to Pigeon Forge. So we're still working hard, and I spent my day celebrating last night, working until about 10:30 last night at Dunbar, getting ready for this trip and making sure that everything is ready for the students so that they have a smooth and enjoyable trip. to Pigeon Forge to compete. We have band students, choir students, and orchestra students. And of course, we're preparing for the SpongeBob musical, May 19th through 21st. I would like to invite you all to join us. Tickets are on lynchburgtickets.com. And you know, I feel like I'm wanting to take this in stride and continue to do what I do, and you know, not slow down just because I've been honored, but I want to continue to do this. And like I said, I want to live up to this honor. I want to make sure that I don't just rest on my laurels, but I continue to work hard for Lynchburg City Schools, and I do have a few good years left in me, I'm sure. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Dr. Edwards, I appreciate all that you've done for us, and everyone. So thank you so very much. And my wife, Lori, thanks you. And I couldn't do this without her help as well. And of course, if we didn't work together, I don't know if we'd see each other much. So it's very fortunate that I have someone that I can work with, and so she helps me quite a bit. So thank you again. I really appreciate this. And again, you know, there's no other word than I'm just very grateful for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Brennan would like to say something, and I'm
Sure.
hoping we'll get a picture as well.
Mr. Carr, I just want to comment. I had the opportunity to be on the committee that chose along with Dr. Sam Coleman, and I've done this in the past, and it always is the best time of the year to have these teachers come through, because it's such an outstanding group of teachers that are selected from every school. And I have to say, there were a few younger than you were, I'll have to admit to that, but there were none that met the criteria that you have set for the teachers in our schools. And I think not only, you know, year to year, you and your wife provide such amazing gifts to the students in drama, but what you extend then into the high school and to the kids who leave high school and the diversity of who you have, it's just phenomenal what you have brought to Lynchburg City Schools. So I really think on behalf of the committee, if I'll look to Dr. Coleman to say that you were well chosen, well selected, we're so pleased to give you this honor. It's well deserved. We all felt very strongly in that way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, we'd love to get a picture.
Yeah, we must, yes, indeed. Congratulations.
And Miss Lori, you know you got to get in the
Yeah,
picture.
Mrs. Carter, come on. They're matching and everything, too, I tell you. Oh, yes, they do.
On board, Doc. On board, Doc. Well deserved.
Congratulations. Congratulations. You're well deserved.
We know we did all the right.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I'm good. I'm all right.
Go somewhere.
Yeah, come on, Dr. Brown. Yeah, come on, Dr. Brown. Come on, Miss Andrews. I'm right on here.
These guys? Yeah. They're not really the good ones, just so you know.
Here we go one more time. Cheese would be nice.
Cheese. Well, they're too sweet.
Another one, okay.
I don't like the flavor of these. Because they were fruit, they had the peppermint before. Like the spearmint or the wintergreen.
Woo! Great job. What a beautiful experience. All right. At this time, after those wonderful presentations, we're now going to move into Section D of tonight's meeting, and that is our student representative comments. And we're going to begin with R.S. Payne, and Dr. Edwards will bring our guest on from Payne.
Yes, this is the last of our guest speaker series where we had students from elementary and middle schools come and share the wonderful things that are happening in their schools. And tonight we have Dr. Baldwin, principal, and Mrs. McVicker, who is the assistant principal of R.S. Payne here, chaperoning two very superstar leaders that we have from R.S. Payne, Miss Layla Thomas and Worth Sigler are going to come and share with us.
Thank you. I think I need that. So hi, my name is Worth Sigler, as you know, and today I'm going to be sharing all the amazing stuff that's going on at my school this year.
All right.
To start off, we have PBIS, or the monthly incentives. This is PBIS, short for Positive Behavioral Intervention and Support. Kind of a mouthful. Every month, a student that behaves gets a reward like extra recess. Here we can see a bunch of photos. The first one of painting, and then the next two of extra recess. Here are the murals that we have all over our school. One of our own teachers applied for a grant. The grant gave us these murals on the walls of our school of inspirational people. My favorites are R.S. Payne, our school's namesake, and Leland Melvin, a former LCS student and astronaut. Finally, we have Candy Cane Clubhouse. Every Christmas season, we do a thing called Candy Cane Clubhouse. Everyone gets at least one gift to give to their family or friends. It's a great way to spread the Christmas spirit. In the most recent one, I gave something to all of my immediate family members, and they loved it. Here's a video. Or not.
Good recovery.
Good recovery. I like that. I like that.
Here I'll pass the baton on to my fellow dragon and classmate, Layla Thomas.
Wow.
I'm not Layla Thomas, but she is on Zoom, so she's joining us by Zoom. Okay, so we're able to see her on there somewhere, hear her.
We were having Zoom issues, so not sure. Can we see Layla by Zoom? She's talking. We were having some Zoom issues earlier, and it looks like they are continuing to happen, which might affect why we didn't get the video.
You want to share a little more?
Wait. Audio is not working for the Zoom. All right, Julius, come on, what you got? Dazzle us right here. You got this.
Come on.
Okay, so I did not prepare for this, but some changes this year is that we are back in the cafeteria for lunch, and we are able to purchase many snacks. Also, in 5th grade, we have cohorts during resource, which allows students to interact with other students outside of their class. A couple of our favorite things this year are Movement 2, which is an extra gym period that we get every other week. It's a great opportunity to get the students back outside. I also like when we go on field trips like Jamestown and learn about history. Here we can see a bunch of photos of everyone at their favorite field trips. Thanks for listening to all that's happening at R.S. Payne, and thank you.
Young.
Yeah, Layla.
Now she,
Oh, Layla.
can we hear her?
I don't think the audio is working.
Well, while we're working on that one way or the other, but young man, come back up for a second, please. Sometimes I'm out of order, but the clerk will get me back in order. I had to bring you back. You are a remarkable young man.
Thank you.
You have charisma. You know how to think on your feet. You are articulate. And I hope everyone who's watching can see what's happening in Lynchburg City Schools. Dr. Gupta, you want to say something?
Are you related to Dr. Julius Sigler?
What? Excuse me? No.
I thought he was in the school board.
But and I'm sure the board members feel the same way, but you have a great gift.
Yes.
Thank
You
you.
keep moving forward, okay? All right.
Oh, well done.
Great job.
We have a gift for you. So Julius, you gotta be set. Let me get some of this magic here. So I have a gift for you. And I also have a gift for Layla. Because two things you did. I put you on the spot and you made it. You stood on your feet and you just came up with it, which was great, right? And then, you know what you did? That was awesome. You were a team player. We had some trouble with Layla, and you jumped in and you said, that's all right, I'll take care of it. She's on my team. And that's that family that you were building at RS Payne that I love. And I appreciate you. And this is for Layla, so if you can give that to Dr. Baldwin for her. And thank you guys for coming. But we need a picture.
Yeah, the board is requesting a picture up here. And to Layla, we're so sorry we couldn't get you, but you're a superstar also, and we'll figure it all out.
Come on in the middle here, Worth. What a way to go.
Awesome job.
Awesome job. Yes, yes, you are coming with us. Yes, yes.
Well, we should get her up here.
Alrighty.
Get up next to Dr. Coleman.
Do you want to get it?
Hold steady for parents.
You're welcome. Wonderful job.
Okay,
One more.
thank you.
Let me shake your hand. You're a great guy.
Great job.
I tell you,
Good job. Let me get one.
I tell you,
Good job.
the future is in good hands. See that? All right. We are certainly, once again, thankful to our student representatives. You all have done an amazing job. And so now for your final presentations to this board, but not your final presentations to this world, I am sure. And so at this time, we'll go in the order that we have listed here. And so Cameron, you'll go first, and then Kayla.
Awesome. Good evening.
Good evening.
First, I would like to thank you all for the recognition. It has been an honor to serve this year as the school board rep. The EC Glass Orchestra 2 weeks ago went to Washington, D.C. They took a trip and also got to compete. Then they got back at 2 a.m. and the same day they proved their commitment to LCS and showed up to the annual Suzuki Festival to help lead other students throughout the school. Congratulations to our EC Glass lacrosse teams, and as well as the rest of our athletics. They have all done an incredible job this spring. This is a picture from both the doubleheader of the girls and guys VES versus glass game. A huge shout out to both our teacher and support staff of the year, Mr. Kramer, our teacher of the year, and Mrs. Mays, our support staff of the year. We would also like to welcome our new principal for the 2023-24 school year, Dr. Rule. We are so excited for what you will provide to our school. And also a wonderful shout out to my fellow school board rep. It has been incredible working alongside you. She will be studying psychology at Longwood University. And And once again, thank you all for everything that you guys do. I have been in Lynchburg City Schools for all 13 years, and I have loved every minute of it, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow. All right. Excellent job, Kaylin.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
As Cameron said already, thank you for the recognition. and for this opportunity. This has been a really great way to kind of, I'm really interested in public service, so this has been a really great opportunity for me, and I'm really grateful for it. So, at Heritage this month, we had prom this past Saturday. The theme was Starry Nights. Congratulations to Kiara Spinner and Jakari Alexander, who were crowned prom queen and king. And Pioneer Theater just closed their final show of the season, which was The Prom. The show was a collaborative effort between Heritage and Glass Theater. It was an incredible experience for everyone. You know, I have a firsthand experience. I was in it, but it was just truly a wonderful time. I want to thank all of the board members who came out to see it. We were all just so grateful for the support that we got from the board as well as the community. So, yeah, just wanted to say that. I want to take a second to honor Coach Knight, who's a longtime coach at Heritage. He's coached a lot of things, but he specialized in track, and he passed away this past month. We took time to honor him at school with a school-wide moment of silence. And I want to also honor Mr. Beatty because yesterday was National Principal Appreciation Day. We are greatly appreciative of our principal, Mr. Beatty, who does so much for the school during school hours and also outside of it. He's a huge supporter of all the sports and the theater program and all of the arts as well. So we're very grateful for him. And lastly, the picture didn't show up. Lastly, I want to shout out Cameron, who is going to be attending Liberty University in the fall and studying government.
Again, we want to thank you both, and Cameron, to your parents as well, and family who've done an amazing job. And Kaylin, and I know your mom and dad, I believe, are here, distinguished former school board member. Thank you for your service to the community and to our schools. Let's give them one final well wish to a great and greater future. All right. And I would love to have a picture with the two of them.
You all ever took a picture
I don't
at all?
think so. I don't.
We got one.
Yeah, today. Yeah. At the very beginning.
Oh, did we?
I don't even remember doing that.
Obviously, both.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Okay. All right, now let's move on now to Section E and LCS Facilities Master Plan and all of the things that are going on this week. Dr. Edwards, if you could bring that up.
Yes, Dr. Wotica could not be here tonight. He's a little bit under the weather, but I am here, and I'm going to introduce Dr. Lance Richards, who I have fondly known as Lance, and Monica, who are now part of our family. They have been with us. They're from the consultants MGT, working on our facility study master plan. Many of you have already met them and interviewed with them, as well as some members of City Council. I know we had some additional meetings today, and I believe they're going to give a short presentation on, a tiny presentation on what they've been up to here. So, Dr. Richards.
I don't have a PowerPoint or anything. Let me slide this out of the way unless you need me to. We did have a community engagement event last night at Bedford Hills. I always want to say Bedford Falls. Jimmy Stewart. Everybody with me? Sorry. And we had a nice turnout, a very pleasant engagement, a lot of back and forth with the community. Several of you were able to join us. And it was really an enjoyable experience. I really enjoy community engagement. The thing that I enjoy the most is just engaging with the school community and actually getting genuine feedback and getting genuine interest in the school communities. And that's always, I don't want to oversell it, but it's a very rich and rewarding experience for those of us that are passionate about public schools and education. We have two more events. We have a community event tomorrow night at T.C. Miller at 6, and then Thursday night at 6 p.m. at Heritage Elementary, so I encourage anyone that can to come out and join us. I do a presentation a little bit about facilities, a little bit about school numbers and overall enrollment, and we won't go into that tonight, but we also talk about the facilities and kind of where we are in capacity and utilization. But the most important thing about these engagement sessions is gathering community information. We had a little hiccup technology-wise in terms of the polling. I would encourage anyone in your community that would like to participate in our surveys to go to encourage you to go to the school's website, district website, you'll be able to find a link there for the community survey. We've had a little over 800 participants on the survey up to this point. That's a very nice and robust response up to this time. Generally, after our engagement sessions, we'll see kind of another bump into that, and we'll communicate that again. I believe the indication is they're going to keep this open for 3 weeks more at least, so plenty of opportunity there. We've learned a lot, Monica and I together, and kind of going through the buildings and meeting with your staff and engaging with students. There are a lot of great things going on in LCS. You know, those of us that are pro schools and work with children, it's always so easy to tear down and be negative about things. But it's so important that we collectively take a look at all the great things. We had, you know, the students here and your representatives that are participating in your board meetings, and we were in our last board meeting, you were celebrating the success of another student at Glass High School. So it's important that we take a look at the schools, we celebrate the successes, but this has been a very rewarding process for us. We've enjoyed our time in your division and also working with your administrative staff and meeting people in the community, council members included. So we're just a small way into this process. We plan to have some information for everyone back here in early June, and then of course we'll be presenting to, I believe, a joint session on August 8th of council and board. So excited about that. Are there any questions for us so far in terms of the process, or any comments at this time?
Yes, Dr. Brennan?
First of all, thank you very much for your individual interviews that you and Monica have both done. I think they're very helpful, and for the community engagement. And as you said, it looked like a good turnout last night. It was a good discussion. Some folks have asked me whether, rather than putting the IT blip aside, whether the time would be spent better with your discussion and allowing people to ask questions as compared to having to do the survey for half of the process, since they can do the survey at any time. They really appreciated your comments and the data and the ability to comment on that.
I would tell you that as we work our way through the polling, that there are then opportunities for questions. Many of the questions that were brought up last night would have been answered had we been able to make our way through the survey. So we don't just stay locked onto the survey and say, this is what we're after. As we make our through there, we answer questions in relation to those. So I believe many of and we will still have that opportunity for discussion at the end, but I feel like that the polling as we make our way through that also serves as part of the discussion.
Mm-hmm. And then one other comment, which
Go right ahead.
We asked before, but one of the participants commented it would be possible to stream it or do it some other way so that other people could be involved. Obviously, there was a good turnout there, but we have a lot of families in Lynchburg City Schools who won't have the opportunity to hear it.
I am not central to that decision. I'm more than willing to have it be streamed. I know we've worked with Austin and Reed on this, and so I don't want to punt that. But that's not my
We're going to see if we
call.
can record it and then possibly put it on the website. We definitely will put the PowerPoint that you presented on the website as well. So.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you for all your work and your time.
Sorry for that non-answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
2 questions. I know you talked about your connection with public education for general public. Could you tell your background?
Sure. I was a junior high and high school English teacher for 9 years, and then in that same time I was also an enrichment instructor for elementary students back in the days of early internet, World Wide Web and that sort of thing. I went on to become an elementary principal for 12 years, made my way into the central office. I later was a director of curriculum as well as director of transportation, so I spent a little time at your bus facility today, and Monica and I actually got onto one of the special ed buses, so that was a lot of fun. And then, for me anyway, Monica wasn't nearly as excited. And then I later served as a school superintendent in Indiana, so I had a little over 33 years in public education.
So you're not a rookie in this field. You know the layout.
Well, I'd like to be accused of being a rookie, but I know, you know.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question.
Go right ahead, Dr. Gupta.
And I asked you before in our one-to-one, there is no pre-planned destination for this
Oh,
exercise.
absolutely not.
And everything is up on the table. You're looking at all from a very objective eye.
We are, but I don't want to oversell the process either. I mean, we can get to the end of this, and I could give you 37 suggestions and not be able to, none of them be actionable. So it's hopeful that we can get, it is our intention at the end of this process that we'll have 3 to 5 solid items that we can take and begin to break forward for your division. Because, you know, as I shared, you know, it's not a question of where you are in 10 years, it's a where we are in 5 years. What is the direction that we're going to chart heading forward in terms of your facilities? Because facilities repairs and facilities construction, any of these things, they require planning, they require time. You don't put up a building overnight, and you don't make decisions about those buildings overnight. So the best part about your process is that you've got time and deliberation in terms of making a deliberate and a considered choice going forward in this. But to answer your core question, I don't know what the final report is going to say. The point of these community engagement sessions, I should stress that, the point of the community engagement sessions is to get that input, to find out some ideas. You know, collectively, we can all make a better decision with input. And so, yes, everything is on the table, and I don't have a final answer at this point.
All right, thank you, Dr. Gupta. Dr. Brennan, any further questions? Your background is very impressive, and
Well,
we're grateful that this is underway. And again, we have tomorrow night and Thursday night as opportunities for people to come.
Would
go
you
right
like to
in.
have your picture with the board?
It will end up on the MGT social media. It's none, so just so you know.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
But yes, at some point, when we get finished with
Right,
this
there you
process,
go.
we'll make sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right,
very
Thank
much.
you, Doc. We
All right.
appreciate you, man.
Thank you. You all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
You as well. All right, this moves us now to section F, public comment section. And persons appearing before the school board would not be allowed to campaign for public office or promote private business ventures and should not use profanity or vulgar language or gestures, make comments about a public official or an employee that are not related to their official duties, engage in behavior that disrupts the meeting or intimidates others, or address the school board on issues that do not concern the services, policies, role, and/or responsibilities of the school board. Individual speakers shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall limit their comments to 5 minutes. The representative shall identify the group at the beginning of the presentation. The group may have no more than one spokesperson, and the total allotted time for public comments is 30 minutes. And those comments are reserved for the public to provide input, and the board will not respond to comments, answer questions, or otherwise engage in discussion at this time. I want to first ask the board clerk, we do not have any voice messages or anything tonight.
That is correct.
All right. And we have one person that wants to talk to us tonight, and he is coming at this time, and Mr. Phil Stump is going to be talking about the discrimination policy as a community member. Welcome, Mr. Stump.
Hi, everyone. My name's Phil Stump, and I'm coming to you as an individual, a parent of 3 former LCS students who had a wonderful education in the system, and also as a former teacher. For the past several school board meetings, we from the Queer Town Hall have made statements during the time for public comments concerning the need to implement more effectively policies to ensure non-discrimination and protection for queer students. We do believe that you are listening. Letters we have received from the board have demonstrated that. This is a great improvement over the past, when it seemed that public comments disappeared into a large void. Can we please take this a step further and place the concerns we've expressed as an agenda item for consideration in a work session and then by the full board? Here again, briefly, are the concerns we would like to see you address. First, communicate clearly and strongly the policies ensuring non-discrimination and protection of queer students to all faculty, staff, and students. Second, provide clear mechanisms for enforcement of these policies and make these mechanisms known to all faculty, staff, and students, and parents. Third, make all queer students aware of the remedies available to them when they are disrespected or bullied. Designate faculty and staff who can be available to advocate for queer students when they are being disrespected by faculty or staff and bullied by other students. Make queer students aware of these advocates. 4, provide frequent training for all faculty and staff concerning the issues faced by queer students. Make this training mandatory and interactive. Allow queer students a strong role in crafting this training. The training must provide the most recent and best documented information on gender identity and sexual orientation, as well as best practices for ensuring respect. Use of students' desired names and pronouns is an essential first step, but only a first step. Finally, 5, establish accountability for the implementation and reporting of action on the above concerns. Acting on these concerns can make a huge difference in the life of queer students. It may also save lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stump. And we're always thankful for our public comments at our meetings. At this point, we will now go into Section G, our finance report, and we are going to hear information that also needed to be picked up from a previous meeting. Dr. Edwards.
Yes, so you said what I was going to say, so I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Kapazi.
Good evening. So we have February's on here. That was the holdover from last month. You'll see as part of February's board report is also a CARES quarterly summary. But I will start with the monthly board report. Excuse me, the revenues and expenditure summary. You see a comparison of February 22 to February of 23. We are about on course with that. The health insurance summary. I do need to express that there is a mistake. That in the fiscal year disbursements for February of 2023, it says $849,000. That is because one of our bills was incorrectly credited to March. So when we open March's, you will see that February was corrected, and then March's is correct. So that number is incorrect. If you look at our expenditure report, that is the requested format of the expenditures through February of 2023. And the revenue report, same thing, also through February of 2023. The CARES funding summary, this is, like I said, a quarterly report that we're going to resume doing. Everything that is in green is either 100% spent or the time frame has ended on it. So our intention is to take that off. So everything in green you will not see on the next report because it's closed. It's no longer. Additionally, those that are in yellow are those that are ending at the September 30 of this year. So right now, I'm going to say, especially because this is what we were going to go over last month, there has already been progress on these from where this number stands right now. I spoke to Christy Compton. We considered giving one in June versus July as far as quarterly. However, we have title grants that are going to be, all those applications are going to be on your board packet for June, so we will stick with the July on the next quarterly update on the CARES. If you have any specific questions, if you'll let Dr. Edwards know so that we can pull whatever data is needed to address those on that next report. Those that are in white, you'll see, are the ones that don't end until 2024. So those that are in yellow and those that are in white will remain on the next quarterly report. In September, when these close, is when we will provide, or actually in October, to let you know where those in September ended. Unless, of course, you have questions before then, and then just ask and we'll be able to pull that. So I'm just going to go on to the next one, Dr. Edwards, which is March. The March revenues and expenditures, if you look at the monthly board report. I'm sorry.
Could you, the first thing you talked about was a correction, and I couldn't keep up with you. Can you tell me that again, please?
Yes, if you pull up the March monthly board report on that next bullet.
The expenditure or the monthly board report
right.
for March?
Yes.
All right.
So if you go under the health insurance summary, and you look at February 2023, and you'll see March 2023.
Yes.
This is just showing our month over month. If you look at the fiscal year disbursements for February, it's 1.1 million. Because there was a bill that when we pulled those together for the April board meeting, had been credited incorrectly to March. So on this one is credited correctly to February.
Okay, so the March number is wrong?
No, the March number is correct. If you look at the monthly board report for February,
Yeah?
that disbursement number is only $849,000. That is the one that's incorrect. It's two completely different reports. One says monthly board report February.
I'm not seeing what you're referring to.
You want me to actually show you?
Yeah.
That's not a problem. So this one is for March. If you pull this same report, but not the March one, the one for February, so you have to go back to that other bullet item. So this number right here, see how that says 849?
Okay, that's the erroneous number?
Correct. So if you go to the March one.
It has the right
It's
number?
over here and it's 1.1 million.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so going back to this, you'll see at the bottom, as far as we've talked about that balance, so we are still in the black as far as that balance remains. There is still $688,000 left over. Again, we still have 2 months to go, and hopefully we can cover anything in excess for those 2 months with that. Regarding, again, the expenditure report and the revenue report, those are the requested formats, and they are through the end of March. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Dr. Gupta?
So in the CARES funding, we received 28 million. Based on this report, we used about 10 million so far.
Okay.
And it expires in 1 year, 2024. So I asked before too, is there a plan? Because the latest bill passed in Congress for this debt ceiling, it sends all that money back, unused money back to the
Yes.
federal government.
Yes, in fact, we're actually working on, myself, Barbara, Christy, we're all working together to try and create, because what you're asking for is technically the application. All of those planned items are in the application. And what we're trying to work on right now is pulling those from the application and putting them into some sort of a spreadsheet so that we can show you, this is how much is allocated to this, this is how much is allocated to this, so that you know what those action steps are, where that money's going. I don't have that now, but we are working on it.
I'm not looking for check boxes, but I was looking for, is there any way we can put that on an express train so that we can utilize this money as the summer is coming to reduce the achievement gap, and not that money taken away in fall unutilized for the purposes it was assigned for.
So I can say that people like Dr. Coleman, Dr. Brown, they have those allotments and they are working on those things. All of the summer programs are being paid through this. So yes, there's a plan, and yes, it is in action. As far as on the speed train, I don't have that answer. I don't know if you can speak to that. I don't know how we can accomplish things more quickly.
Let's make the plan public so people can see what the LCS is doing in terms of reducing those achievement gaps, which everybody's talking about. You know what I'm saying?
So you're
Learning
saying,
loss.
take those items from within the application where we've said, we're going to pay for summer school with this money, and show where summer school will assist to, okay, what
What is our plan for, in summer school to reduce that learning loss we have encountered in?
Okay, so unrelated to the money, you want to know what the plan is to reduce the learning gap?
So no, so where are we going to use this money? And how much of that money will be utilized
Okay.
in summer months?
Okay,
So that, my fear is $18 million is unused right now. As we go towards that debt ceiling discussion, personally, I don't want that money to evaporate for us not being able to use for the good of our students.
right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, we do have a plan for every dollar. So at this point, that's really all I can say, is that we do have a plan for every dollar. Like I said, we are working on a layout so that you can better see that, a visual representation of where every dollar is going. Again, though, I don't know that we can speed track that, but as soon as we have that together, we will share with Dr. Edwards and she'll share with the board.
And some of the money is budgeted, like, as I'm looking at number 12, and just looking down at restorative academies, mentoring programs, some of that is budgeted to continue from, September, October, November. So we want to make sure we have money to pay for those programs in the fall as well. So when Mrs. Capazzi is talking about the application and the program, while the money is unspent, that doesn't mean that it's not accounted for in terms of what we're going to do forward. But I do understand what you're saying in terms of making it more clear as to what funds are being used for what programs and services that are going to help kids catch up any learning recovery that they may have.
Dr. Carter?
I was looking at number 4 and the fact that we returned like 2.4%. Was that something beyond our control, or we weren't able to?
I can't say for certain, but I'm fairly certain that that was actually backlog of technology items and some even on the facility side as far as supply chain issues. I can't say specifically what that was, but I'm fairly certain that was in both instances under both of those.
That item also refers to Orton Gillingham training. What is Orton Gillingham?
Adam, and let Dr. Edwards.
Training for literacy.
Literacy training, okay.
Dr. Coleman.
Yes, Dr. Carter?
And one more, do we receive, or has the school divisions in the state of Virginia received the grocery tax? Or has that been
So
rebudgeted?
It's kind of
or
a hard
formula?
answer. So the state has released a skinny budget. To my knowledge, it's as official as it's going to get. So the answer is no, the grocery tax hold harmless is in the budget. However, our basic aid and other areas has been reduced in order to make up for the error that was made in that. So it's not quite 2 million, but the budget, if the skinny budget is definitely it, is less than what the governor had originally proposed.
For next year.
Dr. D?
I looked at the expenditure report for the period ending at the February 28th.
Okay.
And under pupil transportation, management and direction, other, there was it says a percent of budget used is 582%. But then when I look at the same item for the subsequent month, it's way back down again. Is that just a glitch of some kind? It seemed pretty.
I don't know. It could be a formula error. I'll have to look into it.
Okay,
Dr.
it just stuck out to me as something that probably is a little bleep somewhere in.
Thank you. Dr. Day, Mr. Trost?
And thank you, Ms. Causey, for the report. Item number 7 specifically, it looks like we have 46% either spent or encumbered. And I see the timeline is quickly approaching and dealing specifically a lot of HVAC systems, that money can be utilized. What's the likelihood that we're going to be able to utilize the remainder of that money before the timeline, of the expiration timeline for HVAC systems?
I can't really answer to the likelihood. Dr. Woodica would actually be better to answer that. However, I will say that most of that work is going to be done at the beginning of the summer, as soon as the students are out of the building. So we have, between the end of May to, the end of September to get that work done. So I can't say, what percentage of the likelihood is. We are definitely 100% wanting it to be done by then. I just can't take into consideration any issues there may still be regarding supply issues and things like that. Rick Thompson, our project manager, is confident that we will spend this.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Trost. Dr. Carter?
And just one more, number 8. It says 0 spent and 0 encumbered, especially for students with special education.
So I can tell you that is definitely one that has already changed since this initial report. Janine is working with Christy diligently now to try and identify, because some of the plans that get put into place are like personnel, and we don't have the personnel, can't find the personnel. So we're coming up with other ways so that we can get what it is we want. We can attempt to, meet those goals of reducing achievement gap. And so they're working on it. It's not 0, but I can't tell you exactly what it is right now.
But could this be used for IEPs or no?
In what way?
To establish IEPs or to add on new, or?
I think we have to read through what the
Just to see what it
specifics
really
are.
is.
This is that one. I mean, if you look at it, part of it talks about early intervention for children with disabilities for infants and toddlers.
Okay.
Some of them are very specific as to what the funds are to be used for.
So I can say this, I know we were looking at, Christy and I spoke about looking into whether we can do wheelchair accessible playgrounds as something, and Christy is looking into if that's allowable.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Dr. Gupta.
I have a question for Dr. Edwards. You know, the school board meeting is on Tuesday, the agenda goes out to public on Friday. If any number changes prior to Friday, is it possible to have the correct information displayed, not saying it's in flux, and not knowing what is in the play?
Absolutely. I mean, we have the ability to change the agenda up until right before the meeting. We typically don't do that because on the flip side of that was if the agenda was public on Friday and then we make a bunch of changes over the weekend, you know, that looks a little disingenuous to our public that there was one thing published and now that we're here, we put a whole bunch of other things. So I have actually asked my staff not to do that on cases where, you know, unless it's an absolute need. You see that with HR addendums and hiring folks. But typically, we try not to change it once we put it up. And even if there is an error, we'll point out the error and the correction together so that no one looking at our agenda on Friday night or Saturday morning feels like when they get here on Tuesday, we did a flim-flam for that. But if that is something that the board wants us to do, we can certainly try to update it.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Dr. Brennan?
I may be out of line on this, and I know Dr. Cohen will correct me, but will we have some discussion tonight about the operating budget for 2024? I had the opportunity to go to the work session for City Council before this meeting, and there's not much discussion anymore, unfortunately, about the Lynchburg City School Board budget. It's going to be $40.8 million.
I think we should watch that. Barbara's watching it now and has said that a council member has presented their own budget for Lynchburg City Schools during the work session. We might want to see what they're putting on the table.
But so, I'm sorry, that was my question.
Yes, we can certainly discuss sort of big picture options. And we were all kind of waiting to see what the final budget for the city manager, what he might present tonight. I was aware that there was based on just the tax rate, 89, 93, and 99 cent proposals and what that meant for us. So
What I would ask is if there's something pertinent, that we would take that up when Dr. Sinha gives us her report. We might could have a moment to share something.
Discuss it at that time?
Yes.
Sure, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. And Madam Clerk, please make sure you record Dr. Gupta's concern, and somehow the board will have to think about how that might happen, if it is to happen going forward. All right.
Can I just ask a
Please, Dr.
question?
Sinha.
So I understand what you're saying, and on the face of it, I agree. Is part of this because we didn't have any of these presented in February, so they're presented to us kind of frozen in time, as they would have been presented in February?
You're talking about for the care summary?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes,
that was an unusual circumstance. So,
All right, for future contemplation. All right, Dr. Carter.
Regarding this, I've heard it both ways. Some people get upset when there's changes.
Right.
So in the true, whatever, of transparency, it's best to just, if there's a problem, we'll say it, it's a problem, and what the correction is. If we change it, then it's gonna look like, oh, you make all these changes. Now, which one was true? So we need to just establish what is the best thing. But we can make the changes right here, now.
All right, I would like to move on from this, but however, point well taken, Dr. Carter, and the chair is aware of what might be two different approaches to how to handle what has been brought to us today. That's why, if we could just move on for tonight, I think the board can find a way through conversation around that for our work session coming up. All right, thank you so very kindly, each of you, for listening and inputting on the finance report, and Ms. Kapasi for bringing both of those to us tonight. Thank you so much. We are now in Section H on our consent agenda, and you have 7 items there. The approval of the April the 4th school board meeting minutes, the April the 18th work session and board retreat. You have the appropriate information for religious exemption 3 and 4. And you have a human resource report, 5 and 6, with an addendum in 6.1, and then added the human resource report addendum 2. If there is no desire to pull anything from the agenda, first of all, Dr. Day, go right ahead.
I think there were some insignificant but errors in the minutes for the April 4.
All right, help us to appreciate the error.
I think, that was the meeting that we kind of curtailed early so people could go to the city council meeting.
Correct.
So we moved a lot of agenda items from that meeting to this and some to the work session. And I think if my notes are correct, I'm trying to pull up the minutes as they currently stand. Let's see, that was for April 4. Yeah, what the minutes currently say is that Section I was moved to the May board meeting, which is tonight. And I thought we also moved G and O. Now, you probably don't remember what G and O were. So I don't know that we need to resolve this right now, but maybe we could somehow double check to get that corrected.
No, we have a track record of our minutes being in order. Dr. Day, can you be more specific about
Okay, let's see, let me pull up the agenda from the April 4 meeting.
G would have been the February 2023 revenue finance,
Which we just heard.
which we just talked about. Yep.
Yeah, so that one was moved to tonight, and O, if you're looking
And
at,
O was just a closed meeting.
All right.
which we're having tonight also. So G and O were deferred to tonight, and that, the minutes should record that.
All right, I have no objection.
Unless I'm wrong, but.
I have no objection with what has been stated. All right. Madam Clerk, if the minutes could reflect those adjustments.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions or discussion on this consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the corrections.
Thank you, Dr. Carter.
Minutes of April.
And moved by Dr. Carter, seconded by Dr. Sinha with the corrections stated. Discussion, Dr. Gupta.
My only concern we have 32 resignations or retirements, and 8 are the new nominations. So I'm hoping the gap will reduce as we go forward, just to keep that number in perspective as we move forward to the coming months. 32 in this report are resignations and retirements, and 8 nominations.
Thank you. So noted. Any further discussion on the motion to approve the agenda, consent agenda with the corrections to the April the 4th meeting? All right, then, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
School Board Member Ms. Preston? Yes. School Board Member Mr. Charles?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Sinha?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Brennan?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Coleman?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Carter?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Gupta?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Day?
Yes.
School Board Member Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk and Board. And we're going to hear now from Dr. Edwards.
Thank you. So, losing my voice here. One of the items in the consent agenda was the appointment of the new principal for the Fort Hill Community Center. You all know that Kathy Vire is retiring at the end of this year, and we are happy to report that her replacement is a familiar face from both being the assistant principal at Dunbar a couple years ago, but more recently being the director of impact and engagement for the Beacon of Hope. So her replacement is Dr. Christopher Glover, who has done a lot of work with us here in LCS. He has done a tremendous amount of work with urban studies and working with children at risk. And we are excited to have him take on the leadership of Fort Hill and move us forward in our alternative ed program, which is also part of our MGT study. So we want to get him on board as quick as possible and get him involved in that. And we're just very excited to welcome him back home. He really didn't leave since he was at Beacon of Hope and was working with both of our high schools, but we're happy to officially welcome him back to LCS.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards, and I am seeing Dr. Brown nodding his head back there in approval. We welcome Dr. Glover. We are putting together an impressive team here in each of these very important parts of the work that we do in Lynchburg City Schools, and so that's wonderful and powerful. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Edwards. We will now move right along. You're doing well tonight in this board meeting. We're in section I, and we're going to hear from our committees here, and we will begin with Finance and Facilities. Chair Dr. Kim Sinha.
Well, we haven't met for a while because things are kind of frozen in time, budget-wise. You know what our proposal was in terms of supporting the 1550 and the changes to the healthcare funding. So, and our next meeting is next week.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah. So we'll take in consideration and vet, I suppose, alternatives for how to deal with what comes out of council's deliberations on the city budget. I've also been continuing my training with BSBA, which has really been helpful and informative.
Very good.
Understanding, and so that's been really good. I'm really grateful to have that learning experience, and I hope that I'll be able to apply it in my third and final term, but let's see.
Very good.
Yeah, so I don't really have much to report.
Well, Dr. Sinha, you and the committee have been working very hard the entire time here with finance and facilities matters. And Dr. Brennan did bring up a little earlier that maybe this might be a moment for the board to have some pointed discussion around where we are with the Realities Council and where we are in relationship to what that might look like for us. Again, we are still in deliberations. I am still fighting onwardly for every penny we ask for. But we do realize all of the dynamics that are at play. So Dr. Brennan, did you have something you'd like to share?
No, I think I've asked my question. I think I'll tee up Dr. Edwards.
Okay, Dr. Edwards, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I would. I just a reminder for our viewing public and those who also watch city council meetings, that as city council deliberates on the budget, they're deliberating on the operating budget. And as they look at the categorical funding for instruction, admin, in various areas, it is the categorical funding for the operating budget. And you all that were on the board 2 years ago, last year, know that and we just discussed all of the CARES funding, with a significant influx of CARES funding. One of the things that we did in part to help the city when we first experienced the pandemic was to put some of our positions, instructional positions, in CARES. So what may sound like, look like, oh, look, their budget went down. It actually didn't go down. It just shifted into CARES. So when they're comparing year to year operating, they're not factoring in any of the CARES funding or any of the staff who are CARES funded, including their raises, which was 5% for everyone last year. So I am getting word that there's some notion that we decreased salaries last year, and you all know that you were very deliberate about giving everybody a 5% raise rather than an average of a 5% raise. So I just want to make sure that we make that distinction. We did that in full knowledge, knowing that this board or the board would have some tough decisions about the virtual academy staff, about some of the other positions that are in CARES that are not stipend funded positions, or what we thought at that time would be a temporary position to get our kids back to where they were, something like some of the behavioral support positions that we had in CARES funding. So that's important to note. So as people tell a story and make things look the way they look. The other thing is that we are still very committed to doing the 1550. We've put forth the budget. Within that budget were some internal things that we did in terms of trying to make cuts internally so that we can support our staff. 1550, you all know that's a progressive percentage. The higher percentages are at the classified staff level and the teacher staff level, and significantly higher being 10, 12, 14%. And then when you look at the staff that are on the upper end, the administrative staff, those are at the 3 to 1% end of it. So we delivered to council what they asked, which was give us a budget that really supports teachers, give us a budget that supports the classified staff, particularly, the bus drivers, custodians, and secretaries. And that is the budget that we delivered with very little stuff in it. As we move forward, and when we have our finance committee meeting on Tuesday, we are going to be looking at strategies for whatever their deliberations leave us in terms of number, how we can still stay at 1550, and some things that we can consider in terms of just looking at our vacancies and making a decision whether or not we stay with 1550, cut the vacancies or some of those vacancies, or do we play around with that? So we're kind of waiting for city council. We've answered most of their questions and provided them the information that they needed. I heard today, at least part of it, that they were considering giving city staff a 5% wage, which they called a competitive salary. And I would like to say that I hope that they feel that LCS employees also deserve a competitive salary, which is what we put in the budget for them to consider as well. So we do have some strategies. We have some thoughts that will work through the finance committee meeting first, and then of course bring everything back to the full board to talk about where we're going to land in terms of supporting our staff. That is problematic in that we cannot issue contracts yet. We cannot promise staff what they're going to be making yet because we do not have a finalized budget. We're also waiting for the state, as Ms. Kabazi said. And you have to know sometimes that makes people nervous. So if they feel like they may not get the 1550 and they might be able to get something elsewhere better, we're getting closer and closer to the end of the school year. So we want to say to our staff, hang in there. We are still fighting strong, this school board and myself, for the 1550 plan, and we're going to work every option possible to continue working with City Council to make that happen.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards, for that overview. And Dr. Gupta, I'm coming right at you. You may have already answered in what you just said, but if you have, fine. In relationship to those who are of the impression that the 50,000 starting salary, if 1550 were to be implemented, that somehow that would be what it would be, and people who have been here for years would then be getting equal or less than. Can you speak to that? Just seems to be well circulated around, I think erroneously.
Yeah, we get that question often. So what we did with the teacher salaries, it's approximately about $6,500 to go from the base salary, which is a little over $43,000, to the $50,000. And then we took that amount and added it to all of the steps so that our veteran staff would also see an increase and we wouldn't have compression, which is a problem that we had a couple of years ago that we've learned our lesson. We don't want to be there anymore. So as you go down the steps in experience, you will also see an increase in those. And those salary guides are posted on a previous, I don't have them on this board meeting, but on previous board meetings. We also did that across a pay table. So we have some teachers that are 10 months, some teachers that are 10 and a half, some that are 12-month staff as well. So you will see that increase go across those pay tables. We did the same thing with the classified staff. So whatever dollar amount it took to get from, I think it's 1311 to 15, we added that going down the pay tables, and then we adjusted every other pay table that followed so that we wouldn't find ourselves where we might have a supervisor making less than the person that they supervise.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards. Dr. Gupta.
You know, each year I've been on board for 5 years now. I feel like a panhandler, holding hand to the city council, and they throw some crumbs at us. And I think the time has come where we need to, and we play defense all the time. We do. And it has, maybe at home, if my wife tells me I'm a lousy money manager, I say, you manage it now. Leave me alone. So maybe the time has come. Let the city be the fiscal agent of all this money and let them run the HR. Because if they run it, they'll feel the headache and the migraine pains which comes along with it. Then there will not be any more crumbs. Whatever the city employees get, our people will get it too. Right now, it looks like a stepchild treatment to Lynchburg City Schools because we live on an island. And sometimes it's good to be an island, but there are problems because the food supply may be stopped by hurricanes and other weather situations, which come more frequently than they used to.
That was very well said, Dr. Gupta. Dr. Carter?
And I'm glad that Dr. Edwards talked about the contracts being delayed. You hear that. So when we hear that, we understand now the rationale and the reason why they're delayed is not HR, is not someone, but we can't move further until we get some things in place. And I'll take it a step further, Dr. Gupta. It feels like harassment. I just feel harassed. I just do not like April and May. It's like we go and we get beaten up and hit, and then we're supposed to smile and continue to take it.
Thank you, Thank you, Dr. Carter. Anyone else have anything that they want to say to this issue? Excuse me, Dr. Davis?
Just to point out, another option that we bounced around a little bit in the past is the establishment of a funding formula, which would mean our budget was automatically determined and we wouldn't go through this wrestling process every year.
And we asked for that, not to interrupt.
We asked for that?
Yes, we asked for that, and we really tried our best to find out what that formula was, and we were just so happy that there was a formula, so we could just use that formula to plug it in.
So remind me, when did we ask for that? Was that this year?
We started at the end of last year when Mr. Bender brought it up and shared it with us, and we had asked during the summer, because we do a lot of our budget prep work during the summer, what that would be, what it would look like, could we get ahead of it, because we start working with building principals in October, and I think we were delayed because of the election. So
That is
we were
exactly right.
waiting.
That's right.
They were waiting, we weren't waiting. I did research what Norfolk's formula was, what I could find.
I remember us talking about it and thinking about it. I just didn't remember that we'd actually made a request.
Yes,
to
yes,
change.
and
Okay.
we have met a couple times to
Okay, well,
do
thank
that,
you
but-
for reminding me.
And, yeah, go ahead, I can wait, Dr. Gupta, go ahead.
I just wanted, I know I'm stepping out of bound, but our Lynchburg City School teachers and staff are human beings too. And they are equal to any other person who lives in City of Lynchburg, whether they work for City of Lynchburg or they don't work for City of Lynchburg. So this stepchild treatment is not good. You know, you give, as I hear, you're giving 5% to Lynchburg City employees, City of Lynchburg employees, but fighting for every dollar which goes into LCS teachers. They're building the future for our city. The future of our kids is in their hands 5 days a week, maybe 7 days a week. So we should be mindful of the fact, and it bothers me personally, that they have to do panhandling year after year to get a reasonable raise to raise their families in the city of Lynchburg.
Yes, Dr. Brennan?
I think Dr. Gupta is being too kind as far as his comments regarding how we're being managed, because I think we're really more like orphans than we are stepchildren. And unfortunately, you know, despite the fact that there have been many community members who have spoken up to City Council to ask for help with the schools, listening to their conversation, they are just not interested in city schools. And it's just a shame, because we all know how important city schools are to our community, what a driver they are, how important our teachers are. But I think there have been a lot of good comments made to City Council about how important it is to have competitive salaries. As one aspect of this, as we all know, there's supposed to be another 5% raise for our support staff this year by state guidelines, and those funds don't seem to be there. So other counties are going to give a 5% raise. They've already decided to do that too. So we're going to, not only are we not going to be competitive where we were, we're going to drop behind where we were. So I think it's just very unfortunate that City Council has decided that Lynchburg City Schools is not an important entity in the community and does not need to be funded, because they clearly need to be funded, and we need to be competitive to have not just teachers and support staff, but good teachers and good support staff.
I want to thank each of the board members that have spoken so far. I am not prepared to put a period on this matter yet. I'm still thinking that we're somewhere around a comma or a semicolon or whatever might be. The advocacy of the board has been strong. I think that the LCS family and community, there are yet some opportunities before the final decision is made on it. So I want to encourage us to continue to push. There is a level of consciousness on that council towards us. Well, we need to get it to a level where there would be sufficient votes and support. I am not aware, Ms. Capazzi, of all that took place today, because I just didn't get a chance like I would usually know prior to our meeting. But let's keep fighting. Dr. Day, the manager, did indicate, and maybe that was something that needed to be more stated out of our city leadership meetings, but the city manager, as Dr. Edwards said, indicated that because of the turnover on council, that this current iteration for the budget, that the funding formula would not be able to be done. So whether it happens in the ensuing budget year or the next, that's what he was more thinking, but that would be one way to handle it. Anything else that anybody wants to go on record as having said before we move
I
on?
was just going to simply say, as a new person on the school board, and recognizing that there are a number of new persons on the city council as well, I want to thank Dr. Edwards for explaining exactly what this 1550 approach really looks like, so that people do understand that it's going to positively impact everybody, not equally, but equitably. And so, and I think that's what some people are misunderstanding. I also think that the fact that we talked about the fact that the city of Lynchburg is going to institute a similar kind of strategy, and again, with these new people that are on the block, sort of like I am, they're also going to recognize that everybody across our city needs to benefit from that kind of approach, so that we're helping all of the citizens of Lynchburg, with our school system people certainly among them.
Well said, Ms. Preston. Dr. Edwards, any concluding statements on this matter?
Yeah, I just think for the public record that, I want to thank this board for your collaboration with us and with our team. It was very disappointing that there was a letter that was drafted by 4 council members on March 21st, directing the city manager what he should do, specifically with our budget and what they wanted. We had not even had our joint city schools meeting, which was on March 28th, to talk about where we stood collaboratively. So I always appreciate that level of collaboration I have here. I wish we had a little better across the street, but I'm not going to give up in terms of just what we need to do in our advocacy. I'm totally committed, especially today. I've heard council members say that we are doing too much. And today when I was in schools,
Wow.
after the death of a student,
Yeah.
you can't tell me that our staff wasn't doing too much.
Yeah.
Staff members stayed, they were strong. Some of them just didn't even know what to say or what to do, but they were there. They showed up for our children. our counselors, our support staff. Everybody was hands on deck for our children. We tried to help our parents because it's hard. What do you say to your kids? We're all one city. We're not a city and school separate. We're one city taking care of kids. And today, if no other day, that staff deserves so much more than $15.50. They really, really do. Because we had less than 45 minutes notice to get there, have a faculty meeting, get ready, and greet kids. And not one staff member said, I can't do this today. They were all there. And the kids did what the kids did. You know, some of them were their normal jolly selves. Some of them, they weren't having good days today. And you know how that is when you have kids and you're not having a good day and they're not having a good day? Well, when you're a teacher and a kid is not having a good day and you aren't, you put your best self forward and you still help those kids. That's what I saw today. That's what I see every day. So to the people across the street who are deciding for us, they need to really come see us and be a part of us and understand what we do in the city. And guess what's going on right now? SOL testing. In the middle of all this craziness and this violence, our kids are taking tests. The only one measure that some people tend to look at.
Wow.
But today, the SOL test was not important. What was important was taking care of our kids. And that's part of what we do as well. And I don't know how that factors into a budget. I don't know how you make that call. But that's the calling of an educator, a support staff person, bus drivers. Everybody was in today, making sure our kids were taken care of. That's what we see every day. So we are not backing down on our fight for $15.50 competitive wages. It's a step in the right direction. We're not there yet because we believe our staff absolutely deserve it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edwards, and I think we can move on, but the points are very clear around the support for this. And board members, any of you who can use your influence to help that level of consciousness that we need towards this. I do also want to say, I think School Board Member Trost and Preston were there Saturday as well. Please forgive me if I've left anybody out. Dr. Edwards, Dr. Coleman, and Dr. Brown were phenomenal in helping those who were there to understand where we are, the successes we are beginning to have, and the needs that are in front of us. And so, you know, let's keep hoping that this level of consciousness that is needed for support for this will occur before they make their final decisions. Dr. Seno, that you want to say?
Just also want to acknowledge the great administrative team that Dr. Edwards has assembled. You know, there seems to be this fixation on how much administration has grown or what it is, what its size is, not acknowledging that a lot of important roles fall under administration, like school nurses, I believe. I'll tell you how many times I've had to pick up a sick kid who took solace in their nurse's office while they wait for an adult to pick them up. Can't imagine a school building without a school nurse. But that's an administrator. I'd also like to acknowledge that the administrative team we have now this year, most of them are in their first year, have successfully won multi-million-dollar grant awards. And even if you paid each one of them $1 million per year, which none of them make, they have paid their salaries 6 years, 10 years into the future.
Wow.
So when you start to look at administration, you just can't count bodies and salaries. You have to look at that return on investment. And, you know, I think, I can't speak for Dr. Edwards, but I think she's always been conscious of what the bottom line was and what our administrative costs were. And I'd like to think that this year she said, forget that, I'm going for the team I want, whatever it costs. And let me tell you, I don't know how much it costs. I don't know if it costs more than before, but if it did, it was a worthy investment, because these people are doing great things for our schools. They're bringing in money. They're saving the taxpayers money. And I would like to see us have an opportunity to see that money make things happen. And I'm just really sorry that that this gets lumped into a category that's almost thought of with derision, as if they're just a bunch of paper pushers and delegators that don't really do anything. They work hard. So that's just my 2 cents to support our staff and our teachers. Oh, and by the way, I also had a parent mention in church, of all things, when we do joys and concerns, what a joy it was that their son or daughter was at the history competition at CBCC, and how those teachers were prepared, because the kids give their presentations, it happens all quickly, and then they have to wait and wait and wait and wait for the judges to decide. And a lot of times there's younger kids there. These teachers that were there with their students not only helped them with their presentations, they were prepared for that wait. They had games, they had things to do. They spent a whole Saturday there. They're not supposed to work on Saturdays, but there they were, enthusiastic, doing it all. And this person was so moved by that level of commitment, they brought it up in church when people are talking about cancers and this and that. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. I was really proud of I'm always proud of our schools, but I was especially proud that day that this person felt that moved by the commitment of our teachers. So I'm with you, Dr. Edwards. I think they all deserve the money they make. Theirs is a hard job under very difficult circumstances that we try to mitigate, but we've got a lot of social problems that penetrate our schools, and we have to do a lot to remedy that, because nobody else is.
All right, very well said, Dr. Sinha. Thank you very much, Mr. Trost.
Thank you. You know, when you look at a city and a community, there are several building blocks and foundations that are so critical to the development of a strong community, a strong city, to attract businesses, to improve and maintain and improve real estate values. Certainly our public safety is important. But at the top of that list is also our education system. And it goes without saying, but City Council needs to understand that that's such an important building block and investment in the future of our city. We don't want to shortchange that education system. We don't want to take away that foundation. So it's crucial that they recognize that, and I think the 1550 plan is very important to recognize the hard work and dedication of our staff and to pay them accordingly, because guess what? And we've all seen it, I'm sure we all have, I have personal friends who are teachers that have left the city to go to other areas because, quite frankly, said, I can get more money, period. And that was very disturbing to me personally, and it's an unbelievable hard hit to lose all the knowledge of these long-term instructors to other areas, and it's because of money. So I hope the City Council can find it within themselves to see that it's a crucial part of our budget, the 1550. And I will tell you, before coming in onto the school board, you know, you don't see a lot of the inner workings, the behind the scenes, but this school board, our school system, Dr. Edwards, really, we've all agonized. She agonizes about every dollar in that budget. And we pinch pennies as much as anybody. And I'm known for being very cost conscious in my own business and my lifestyle. You get to a certain area where you can say, okay, I can spend a little bit more, and I may be at that area. But when I was younger specifically, I spent penny pinched. And this school administration, this board really agonizes over those dollars that we ask for from City Council. And we wouldn't ask for it if we really didn't need it. And we need the 1550 to maintain our current level of teachers and staff and attract the best and the brightest to support our students. and, to solidify that building block in the foundation of our city. So really implore City Council to do the right thing. The right thing is to find the money necessary to support our city school system staff. And I know they can do it, and it's important for the future of our city. It's important for the future of our children. We thank you, and I hope you find the money to do the right thing for us and support the 1550 that we asked for. It doesn't warrant that. That's for the teachers and the staff. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Trost, and everyone who has commented, and we'll move on. But let's keep working, Dr. Carter, all of us. Keep working. Thank you, Dr. Sinha, for your report. I guess I would like to lastly say, in terms of intellectual property, Mr. Trost, I think you hit it when you said there's a lot of thinking and number crunching and trying to figure out something like this. And so to characterize our 1550 plan as a gimmick or a joke is an interesting characterization of something so brilliantly put together. And I hope that persons would understand that. We're going to now move on into the rest of the reports here. Governor's School, Dr. Gupta.
I'm running out of the courtroom after hearing Attorney Trost. Motion is motion to dismiss. But the Gov School, basically 3 items. The meeting was about a month ago, and the next meeting is tomorrow. So there were 3 key items. One was the discussion of budget, which is still pending because their salary increases are tied to the Lynchburg City School budget. The other was the item in regards to moving away from CVCC to University of Lynchburg for dual degree program, the contract discussion, and it was approved with some modification that instead of 3 years, it should be 1 year to try them out, see how it goes, and then move forward. The third item was the approval of a new faculty member to be hired.
Any questions for Dr. Gupta? Thank you for your diligence with that, Dr. Gupta. We really appreciate
The
it.
new faculty member was in what subject?
I think it's math.
Matt.
Okay, because there was a long-term faculty member who left, and so perhaps this is the replacement. I'd be interested to know who, but that, I can talk to you later.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Any further questions for this report? All right, thank you so much. We'll go to I3, Laurel Regional, Dr. Carter.
And I'm going to sound like Dr. Gupta. We met a month ago, and we're having a meeting tomorrow, and our focus was on the budget also, and we were excited about the 1550 plan and are looking to adopt that if that passes with us, and try to see how we can do that, and also how we can accommodate an extra classroom for students that have more behavioral issues. We have one class already, and that's going very well, but that's not it's a pretty, it costs to run that program. But the benefits is that one student that was never seen smiling is now able to smile, and the amount of time to de-escalate that student has gone from 3 hours to like 3 minutes.
Wow.
And so now we're just trying to make sure that we can carry and transition this back into the base school. Sometimes you get into a smaller setting and you really enjoy it, but we're trying to, how we can also help to transition back to a base school. But that's going very well. And we have a meeting tomorrow, and we're going to try to finalize, or we won't be able to finalize, but we'll look at the budget again.
Very good, Dr. Carter. With the Laurel Regional piece, you may not know this yet. In terms of graduation, do we have any LCS graduates this year?
This year, I don't believe so,
Okay, all right.
but I'll bring that back.
Thank you.
I don't believe so this year.
Okay. All right, and we're going to stay with Dr. Carter, and I'm just going to say this. She's going to move into the STEM Academy, and once she finishes that, go right into legislative advocacy and community relations.
The STEM Academy, the director, Susan Cash, she has been very, she's really put up forth a huge effort to recruit students, going to all of the high schools in the surrounding areas in Region 2000, and making sure that all the students are aware of what they need to get in their application to the STEM Academy. And also, the students were doing internships at various programs, one being Centra and also Delta Star and several others, and also was able to go to well, I'll talk about that later. And so we're also waiting on the budget to make sure that we can also help that school system and the professors there.
Thank you very much. Any questions on that?
Fine, just maybe.
Yes, Mr. Trost?
And Dr. Carter, I just want to recognize that STEM Academy is another component that we provide the city school system to our business partners, which in turn helps support the building of this community. So it's important there that we, these foundations that our fingers, the Lynchburg City School System, our educators and our children go out into the community and do such good things that, again, establish the building blocks of this community. And it starts with our staff. So again, another fine example of how we as a school system are helping the business community, and the business community is in turn helping us for the betterment of the entire community. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Trost. All right, Dr. Carter, next report.
And we haven't had another meeting for the Legislative Advocacy and Communication Relations Committee, Community Relations Committee.
All right, very good, but each of us are doing individually and wherever possible our advocacy around the 1550 piece in our budget and other pieces, and so thank you for that. All right, we're going to move now to Partners in Education with Dr. Sinha and Mrs. Preston.
Unfortunately, because I had the wrong Zoom link, I missed the last meeting, and so I apologize for that. Were you able to?
I was able to go to the last meeting. I can't think of anything specific that we need to discuss. However, we are scheduled to have another meeting this Thursday. I think it's at 8 o'clock, so.
Yeah, so our next meeting is Thursday at 8 o'clock. And I just want to remind the public, we're very fortunate to have very robust support from our business community. And all you needed to do was see the size of the crowd that was at the Partners in Education breakfast. And looking at the program, it was pages and pages and pages of list of our partners, which include businesses, churches, all sorts of organizations that are behind us, support us, do what they can for our students, because they know, as Mr. Trost has said, how important it is. So I just want to go on record as saying we have the support of the community in that regard, the business community in particular, and I'm very grateful for their involvement in what we do, and looking forward to the meeting on Thursday, which is going to be at Mr. Harvey's establishment, Gary Harvey, former member of the school board, so looking forward to that.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha. Let me ask this, Dr. Edwards, and I know that Director Reeves may not be on. When we do all of the things we do in the classroom to see what the student needs and how everybody's doubling around to figure out, kind of focusing on that, do we have some type of system with the Partners in Education for synergy to make sure that the robust interest that Dr. Sinha just spoke of gets exactly where the needs are, and that those needs aren't unmet because there's an interest that isn't aware of the need?
Yeah, so Ms. Reeves does reach out to building principals and departments to see if there are some needs, and then she'll often ask partners if they can meet a need, or vice versa, if we get a new partner that has a special talent, and then letting our schools also know that we have this partnership and this might be something that they want to work with.
And even though we have so many already, we are always looking for competent, qualified, vested in kids, new partners.
Yes.
All right.
Over 7,000 kids, lots of partners.
All right, thank you.
James, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
And again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'm going to do it because it's so important. City council needs to understand, if The 1550 plan is important to our city school system, and if that 1550 plan does not come through for our school system, you are letting down the who's who of business people in this city who are in fact members of this PI organization. And we're at that breakfast. Go through, these are business leaders in our community, and you let down our staff, you let down our teachers, you let down our children, and you let down that business community. And those business leaders may not have the time to come to city council meetings and advocate for that particular type of program, 1550, but I guarantee you, you will be letting down that business community. And I expect you will hear from those people when they don't have the building block of the Lynchburg City school system to tout as a feather in the cap of Lynchburg City.
Wow. He's on fire tonight. Yes, shut up.
Started this morning.
Yes, sir.
Thinks he's in court, huh?
It started this morning when a city employee accused me of not picking up after my dog, thinking it went to the bathroom, and accused me of that, and the dog went number 1, not number 2. And I called him out, so you might want to get it. That was a fun exchange. It was beautiful.
All right. Mr. Trost for this.
But it's important, it's critical.
Absolutely.
It is.
Absolutely.
It's critical. I mean, our safety system, and our, Lynchburg City School instructors and staff are so critical to this community.
Yeah, we're all in this together.
Yep.
Yep.
Well said, Mr. Trost. Thank you so much for those courageous, inspirational, and needed words. We are going to now move to the Education Foundation. Mr. Trost and Dr. Sinha.
Well, the biggest news is we have our annual Senior Awards Dinner this Sunday at 6. And I want to thank the Lynchburg Education Foundation for putting that on. It's such a nice thing to recognize our hardworking students that are graduating this year. So we're thankful for that. And then once we get that done, we'll schedule a meeting again, one of our meetings.
Yep.
In June, I imagine.
All right. And there's an event coming up May 7th, or?
It's this Sunday.
This Sunday.
This Sunday.
Yeah.
It is.
It's Sunday.
May 7th at 6 p.m.
Yep.
Very good.
University of Lynchburg.
University of Lynchburg.
I will be there. Very good. Okay, that's right. Go ahead, Dr. Gupta.
I've said that before. Maybe Ed Foundation need to expand their base where they host these events, so all board members who want to attend are able to attend those events. And restricting it to 1 or 2 locations is not good for other schools which are out there in this community.
I'll bring up that query.
Now, Dr. Gupta has made that statement, not 10 times, 20 times. And some of the persons who spoke earlier mentioned about saying something over and over and whether or not it ever gets anywhere. Madam Clerk, please record that statement from Dr. Gupta tonight, and Mr. Trost said he will work on it. But I do think that it does bear witness for some deeper reflection and action.
This actually is a change. Generally, they host it at a Randolph.
Been at Randolph.
It's always been a Randolph, so this is the first
Oh,
year.
wow. Thank you for
First year
that.
in 8 years, there's change.
Last year.
I think last year was at.
Was it a university?
Yes.
But before that, I don't know.
It was at Randolph.
With Dr. Carter's point is still well taken, because we're moving in a direction of that. And, I just wanted to make sure that is so noted. And, all right, and lastly, the Beacon of Hope, Mr. Andrews and Ms. Preston.
You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Doesn't matter.
I can go.
All right, the Beacon of Hope Tournament is taking place on this coming Saturday, and if you haven't already bought tickets for the tournament, they are available on the Beacon of Hope website. They also are selling some raffle tickets. The raffle tickets are, I think it's 10 for $50, and the prizes include things like a cornhole board set, 4 tickets to UVA football game, a Moore and Giles leather bag, and a $100 gift card. But y'all can buy tickets and put my name on them, so I can. That would be good. So Beacon has really been busy, and I think you've been involved with another thing
Yes.
that was going on with Beacon. So you want to talk to them?
So a couple things, 20 students from both Class and Heritage were awarded the Commonwealth Scholarships from Beacon of Hope. These scholarships, these $5,000 scholarships provided funds and support for students pursuing post-secondary education, obviously college or trade. Students are currently in the acceptance and enrollment process for the Stay Close, Go Far scholarships. Any student who has spent all 4 years and graduated from LCS high school is eligible for the Stay Close, Go Far program. And then, of course, Beacon of Hope is also doing their summer internship program. This is the second one. Their first one was last year, obviously. And then on April the 20th at the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, they held interviews for 100 rising juniors and seniors. And then, of course, we had 23 employers there to interview these students, which was actually pretty amazing. Actually, like speed dating for interviews, right? So it was over a two-hour period. Out of the 100 students who attended, 80 were selected by employers for the summer internship program. So that goes back to Randy's point about letting down the business community, right? Because the business community is relying on these interns, right, to be exposed to jobs. Career interests varied from banking to theater to public works to museums to chemistry and nuclear engineering. The internship program will begin June the 5th and they will run through June the 30th. Interns will be present at those employers 4 days a week, and Fridays will be reserved just for resume training, reflection, and practice programs at CVCC. And then last but not least, just congratulating once again Dr. Chris Glover for coming back to LCS. He made a huge impact in Beacon of Hope, but I'm glad that he's back. So, yep, that's it. That's all I got.
They do a really great job of preparing these kids for the interviews that you were talking about, but also for the interviews for the Commonwealth scholarships, because I sat on one of the panels for the interviews, and they are on top of things. They really know how to talk to people. They know how to respond appropriately, and that's a wonderful task. And again, like you said, it's all in this together, because we're not just educating kids so they look good on paper. We're educating them so that they can be meaningful members of our community. So that's a good thing too.
Well said. Thank you, Mr. Andrews and Ms. Preston. If there are no questions regarding their report, I think this is a good time to take a 5-minute break, and when we come back, we'll do unfinished new business comments from the superintendent, ourselves, and necessary closed meeting tonight. so that we can get you all to other matters beyond the meeting. I would ask the board at this time if there would be any objection to this, please say so. But would there be any objection at all for me moving K3, which is dealing with the local plan for Perkins Fund, CTE, up to now so that the presenter can do the presentation and then move on to something else that's very important that that person needs to do?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right? I'm thinking at this point that we probably do if we're going to amend the agenda. Would you like to make the motion?
I'll move.
All right.
Second.
It's been moved by Dr. Sinha, seconded by Dr. Carter, that we move K3 to J1, and it would then move us down to the second matter, okay? All right, any questions on the motion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
School Board Member Ms. Clarkson?
Yes.
School Board Member Mr. Charles?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Sinha?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Brennan?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Coleman?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Carter?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Gupta? School Board Member Dr. Day?
Yes?
School Board Member Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
All right, now we're entertaining K3 now. Go right ahead.
Yes.
Oh, Dr. Edwards.
Okay, thank you. So K3, excuse me, is about our Perkins grant funding for our CTE program, and I'm thank you for allowing us to move it up because Mr. Dooley has to travel to Richmond tomorrow for the tonight for tomorrow morning's Lab School Innovative Program, and as you are aware that we worked with both CVCC and University of Lynchburg to get not one but two lab school planning grants here in Lynchburg, which was something else that at least one council member talked about and wanted us to move forward with, and we did successfully. So we will be participating in that tomorrow. Mr. Dooley's going down tonight. I will be going tomorrow, along with, I think Dr. Kozlowski is also going, and our team members from both University of Lynchburg and CVCC. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Dooley.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Thank you mainly for not putting me after the student speakers. They were pretty amazing. I don't think that I could have followed that up. Would also like to thank you all for everyone's support that I've received so far. It started in January, and honestly, the support I've gotten has been very humbling. It is an outpouring of support, and it just shows you how special this system is. With that said, you know, I would like to thank also Dr. Sam Coleman and Dr. Crystal Edwards for being such inspiring leaders. This is my 29th year in education, and I've honestly working for them makes me want to work just as hard as I did my first year. So with that said, I'm now going to bore you to death. The Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act, otherwise known as Perkins 5, requires that the school board for each local division review the local plan and budget for career and technical education prior to the plan of submission to the State Department of Education for approval. The tentative plan submitted in summary below is for your review and input. Since the local plan consists of a lengthy document, the CT department is providing you with a summary that explains the various sections and highlights important information that is required in the plan update. This provides an easy reference for you if information you wish to review or have any questions. So part one is the certification and assurances. This lists basically the conditions that we are saying that we will follow by receiving the Perkins grant funding. Part two is our performance assessment tab. This tells us how we are doing across the board with our regular ed students, but also our CTE students, about what our graduation rate is for CTE students. And I'm just going to make a little plug right now. If we can get a student committed to CTE, to being in a sequence and completing a pathway, those students have a 98 to 100% pass rate for graduation. This past year, we had 177 out of 177 students that were completer sequences graduate from Lynchburg City Schools. And that's amazing. And that's just, that's across the state that we're that high. It's a 94 to 95%. So if we can get our students committed and we can get them in these programs, they're going to graduate. So I just want to say that. Our report card showed that we were not meeting our performance data in two areas. One is the non-traditional students in regular traditional CTE classrooms. I came from Franklin County. We struggled with this every year as well. This is one that everyone struggles across the state. I think the percentage that was needed is 28%, and I think we're at about 25%. The other category was our CTE students with in special populations were 2 points short of passing their science, or meeting the standard for their science SOLs. It was 85%, and we were right at 83%. So both of those numbers are very attainable. And within the Perkins plan, we have written ways that we are going to address those and try to meet those next year. Next, we get into part 3, which is the schedules. Schedules 1 and 2 list all the individuals in the development and implementation plan of the plan that were involved. This represents from workforce council, special population, community college, labor organizations, out-of-school, homeless, and at-risk youth organizations. And somebody from each of these organizations is represented on our advisory committee. I feel that it's very important that we get a broad representation so that we can really get a feel of, this is what the community wants, not just one certain segment. Schedule 3 lists the career clusters and plans of study that LCS has submitted in the past, and the ones that we submitted this year. We submitted a nutrition and wellness program. We will not be implementing it next year, but hopefully that will be something the following year we will be able to supplement our culinary arts programs at the high school. I feel like it's it's good to not only know how to cook, but also know the nutritional value of what you are cooking. Schedule 4 lists the special populations that LCS serves and career and technical education programs. The 3 main being, like I mentioned, the non-traditional students, our students with IEPs, and our socially, economically disadvantaged students. Those are our 3 main categories. Schedule 5 describes how CTE will strengthen and improve academic and technical skills for CTE students. 6 describes how LCS via the CTE department will provide strong work-based learning programs for LCS students. Schedule 7 lists the ways that we will use Perkins funds to develop, improve, or expand the use of technology. Schedule 8 lists the types of professional development activities that our teachers, that we use to try to keep and recruit our teachers. Schedule 9 describes how LCS is required to evaluate career and technical education programs. And again, a lot of that goes back to our CT Advisory Committee. Anytime that we will bring a new program to the city, the advisory committee will first talk about it and then vote on it to say whether they think that it's appropriate or not. Schedule 10 provides a checklist showing how LCS will improve, expand, and modernize CTE programs. Schedule 11 describes how LCS will use data to make decisions on program improvement, and that includes a description of data that will be used in the process for using it. Schedule 12, since career pathways are a major emphasis in the federal legislation, this section provides a list of programs of which LCS has implemented linkages to post-secondary programs. It also provides information on employment counseling, job placement, and job finding skills development that LCS provides to students. Schedule 13 discusses how LCS will ensure that the equity provisions of General Education Provision Act are met. 14 provides the sources of labor market information that uses to help make decisions for career and technical education courses and programs. And again, when I am going to be talking to the advisory committee about new programs, what I will bring them employment data to show that there is a need in this community, working with CTE Trailblazers, some other programs at the University of Virginia. But again, it will not be just like we want to do this because it seems like a fun class. It will be because the job data shows that we need it and that the community can support it. 15, right now, we don't technically we are not a participant in a regional CTE program, mainly because we do not use CTE Perkins funds for that. Next year, this will be we will be talking about the CTE Academy because we are becoming much more involved in the CTE Academy at CVCC. So Schedule 15 will have more information with it next year because that's something that we will become more involved in as we get on, because it's a great opportunity for our students to participate in programs that we can't offer at the high school level. 16 summarizes the amount of state and local money LCS spends for career and technical education personnel, equipment, instructional supplies, and other related costs. And then Schedule 17 and 18 is how that we plan on spending our funds. Now, please note that when we talk about this money that the Career and Technical Education Department recommends for the federal distribution for the 23-24 school year, typical DOE, they do not release our new funds until sometime in May, even though they require the Perkins to be turned in by the end of April. So as this gets submitted, it will get denied, just like everyone in the state will get denied, and then we will be asked to go back and adjust once they give us our new figures. But based on this, if we were used to use last year's money for professional development for our staff and recruiting, we look at putting $20,000. Purchase of new and replacement of equipment, $194,000 roughly. Software that will be purchased for everywhere from Microsoft Office to Test Out to Adobe Photoshop. This stuff seems to get more and more expensive every year, so we've allocated $40,000 for that. Provide student organization support for non-traditional and special population students. This is to get students involved in our student leadership organizations. We really want to recruit. We just had a great weekend down at Virginia Beach with Skills USA a couple of weeks ago. Our students had an awesome time, and our teachers really came back inspired about how are we going to get more students and teachers involved in this organization. And then finally, the recruitment of non-traditional students to promote non-traditional employment. Again, that's going back to address one of those categories in our annual performance report card that we did not meet. So we will put a little bit of money towards that to help with the recruitment of non-traditional students. So this is what I would like to present to the board tonight for their approval. So I'll be happy to answer any questions for this or anything career and technical education related. As Sam will tell you here, once you get me started, I'm kind of hard to stop. But I know some people's stomachs are growling, so I will not take up too much of your time.
Thank you so much, Julie, for this. All right, so Dr. Edwards, this is an action item for tonight?
It's actually not listed as an action item, but we would love action.
All right,
if you wanna
'cause
move it
truly-
for now.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board, Dr. Day?
Well, I did have a couple questions. Did
Please.
you have a question too, I thought?
Yeah, just briefly. First of all, Mr. Julie, welcome to Lynchburg City Schools. We're glad to see you. We're glad you're here. Your haircut looks like it's recovered from your initial.
It's getting there, it's getting there. But for those of you that don't know, the first week I was here, I had Heritage Cosmetology students cut my hair. And then it was great. Those were the students that I spent the week with last week down at Virginia Beach. So it was just great to spend that time with. But that's the kind of exposure I want to get our students. And if it takes me doing something that most people wouldn't do, then I've done much worse.
Right. And thank you for the nice summary you gave us with the notation, similar to what you gave here, so we could look at the information, which was very helpful too. And the one question I have for you, you've had so much experience, you've now been in Lynchburg City Schools about 6 months. What do you think what are your goals for the next year or so? Do you think that we really need to emphasize the CTE, because it has become such an important part of our future for Lynchburg City School students? Where do you think we are headed?
Well, from getting to walk around, I've got to walk around with Dr. Edwards and look at all of our programs and meet with the teachers and get to see what their students are doing. We've got some really strong programs and strong teachers in Lynchburg City. What I would like to do is become a great resource for them and ask them how I can help them become even greater than they already are. The three areas that I would really like to concentrate on, one is, like I said, the student organizations. I would like to get students in our Skills USA, in our DECA clubs, in our HOSA. These organizations are student organizations just like National Honor Society. They're very good resume builders. They teach students how to get up in front of people and do what we're doing here and talk and communicate like the students did earlier tonight. It gives them that opportunity. Secondly, the next two go right along with the two people that I've spoken about all night. One of the first things that Sam Coleman told me coming in was that, we don't want a single student to graduate from Lynchburg City Schools without a meaningful industry certification. We've got to make them employable. That's to me, that's got to be a big selling point when we talk to our city council and the community, is that we are creating our own pipeline. We're going to grow our own here in Lynchburg City. We're going to make sure that these are the students that stay here, that want to come back here. And then finally, the last thing, and I think the most important thing, and this is, Dr. Edwards and I have discussed this multiple times, is that I really want us to start concentrating on apprenticeships, internships, job shadowing, getting our students real work-based learning experience. We don't have every program here at Lynchburg City. CVCC does not have every program. But, we might have students that want to get interested in the Water Authority. And if we could get them on board and let students go do apprenticeships there, then those are the type of opportunities that we need to start giving our students. Again, that's going to help recruit to keep these students in the area. It's also going to show that, these businesses can take a risk on some of these students without having to invest a whole lot. And if they hit a home run with them and realize they get someone great, then that's exactly what we're shooting for. But those are the three main areas. I'd love to grow our programs. I love trade and industrial education. I like the dirty trades, carpentry, electricity, automotive. If we have an opportunity to add those, because those, look around. When was the last time someone tried to get a plumber?
Yep.
And how much did you pay for it? I'd put a plumber's salary against just about any profession out there right now.
Great. Well, welcome again, and thank you for those goals, and I'm sure you'll be successful in pursuing them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Brennan. Dr. Day?
I just want to echo what's been said in saying thank you. I think we all recognize how important this is to LCS and to the community at large. You were making that point. And then to tie this into what we were talking about before, our frustrations with City Council, you have summarized for us a report which in its full length is over 60 pages. It must have taken you a considerable amount of time to prepare that report.
Luckily, I had some good support helping me.
But this work that Mr. Dooley has done and the people helping him are among those administrative positions, right? So this CTE effort that we, as the school system and as a community, are all so dedicated to is there because of some people in those administrative positions, all right? They're making things like this happen. They're not just sitting behind a desk somewhere in this building doing something that doesn't really affect the rubber on the road. And so I'm just making a point that others have already made tonight, that all of those administrative positions are doing something tangible for our students, something that's very important for our community at large, the business community in particular. So I'm just throwing my 2 bits in with what's already been said and thanking you in particular for being the key person for this particular aspect of what LCS is doing.
Well, I've cherished this opportunity, and again, I can't tell you how much I enjoy working with the people I work with.
So that's what makes you good at your job.
Dr. Carter?
I just want to thank you for your enthusiasm. It sounds like somebody else, Dr. Coleman there.
It's contagious.
And this is the first time I've ever heard the report presented this way. Generally, it's a green report with a lot of numbers. But so this is great that we understand what the items are, but the other thing is, what is the latest year or that a student can enroll in a CTE?
What do you
I
mean as
mean,
far?
so what year, like,
Can a senior enroll, for instance?
can a senior enroll or?
Yes,
in-
yes.
okay.
Especially if they're doing the CTE Academy, if they do the CTE Academy, they can actually take a sequence in their entire senior year. At the high school level, it's really, they need to start by their junior year to get that, what we call a completer sequence, where you take at least 2 classes in a pathway. But again, Dr. Coleman and I have talked about our desires. We want this starting in elementary school. We want students starting to get introduced to it. We want it, at the middle school level, we want them going at it hard. By 8th grade, we want to start giving them some high school options. And really, we want to work that schedule so that by their junior and senior year, they've met their requirements. And if they will need to do a half a day at an apprenticeship or an internship, we want them to have that opportunity.
So if a student hasn't gotten in, can they enter their senior year?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then how can students get into this program earlier? What are the words they need to say? What do they need to say in
Well-
order to get into this track?
I take a lot of responsibility, so I don't think it's the student's responsibility to say, I want that. It's my job and the guidance counselor's job to introduce them to these programs and these pathways early on, so that in 7th grade, when they create what's called their academic career plan, they've already got an idea of what they want to talk to their guidance counselor about. Hey, I want to be an electrician. All right, well, here's the pathway that we need to route for you, to map out for you to be successful at that. So again, I think that we've got to do a better job of showing the students what is out there, what the pathways are, what programs do we have to offer. And again, I think working with CVCC and the CTE Academy is a great opportunity. They are great there. They've got a lot of great opportunities, but I'd like to have some of those programs at our high schools. I've lived in this community all my life. I've seen those programs come and go at CVCC. When you get them at a high school, they usually stay.
All right, Dr. Sinha, and then Dr. Brennan.
I'm really glad you're here. I love your enthusiasm. I think
Yes.
you have a positive way of infecting others with your enthusiasm, and I know you'll do that for our students. Secondly, I was so impressed with the conversation you had with Senator Kane during that short visit he came. He was with us 15 minutes, and I think you got 30 minutes worth of conversation in that short time. So well done.
Thank you.
Third,
I
I
will
want,
say they didn't really follow up with me that well.
Well.
It took multiple emails to them to finally get them to respond to me, but I did.
I also want to assure you that I've been a champion of CTE, even though I'm a person who works at a private women's college that's traditional liberal arts. I think there's a place for both. And one of the things I've really tried hard to advocate, particularly with Education Foundation, is for them to find ways to promote and support and honor the achievements of our students in CTE. This time of year, we're seeing the, May 1st is your commitment day, and so all over Facebook, I'm going here, I'm going there, and of course, we're gonna have the honors banquet, and a lot of those honorees are college-bound students, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's great achievement, and I'm very happy for that, and I don't mean to diminish that in any way, but I would like to see a comparable level of prestige for these students, because they deserve it. These are not easy professions. Manufacturing isn't what it used to be. I worked in a factory a long time ago, lingerie factory. And, manufacturing and those kind of jobs just aren't what they were. You need to have smarts. You need to have skills. There's a lot to it that, our CTE programs can provide. And certainly, I'm always pleased when I encounter students says, oh yeah, I want to be a plumber. I'll say, oh yeah, I want to know you, because if I ever need money, I can borrow it from you, because you're the one who's going to have it, So I just want to say that I'm really hopeful that within a short amount of time, we can make those things happen with the Ed Foundation. And I also let them know, after hearing what you spoke with Senator Kane about the limits to the money that you get, the ability for other students to be able to travel to these competitions, and they seem very interested in finding ways to help you fund that. So keep that in the back of your mind. Let's work over the next few months and into next year to make those connections and work with the foundation to do what we can to raise up these students, honor their achievements, celebrate their achievements the way we do other students, and also where funding is needed, find a way to get it to them, because I think it's just so vital and so important.
Well, I agree, and I've been, Dawn Wise's office is right across the hall from mine, so I speak to her every day about some different
Oh,
things.
excellent, perfect.
And, just to let you know, in the next couple months, I'll probably be coming to you all to tell you about a trip that our culinary teacher at EC Glass wants to do, of taking students on a culinary trip in the summer of 2024 to northern Italy for 12 nights.
That would be great.
Wonderful.
Dr. Edwards has already signed up for chaperone.
All
Where
right.
do I sign?
Excellent.
But no, I agree, they are a great organization, and again, they've reached out to me and told me whatever I need to just come to them and we can discuss it. So,
Very good.
Very good, Dr. Sinha. Dr. Brennan?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the local plan for the Perkins Fund as presented by Mr. Dooley tonight.
Second.
Been moved by Dr. Brennan, seconded by Dr. Carter, that we will approve what has been presented to us regarding the Perkins piece. Any further questions or discussion on the motion? Do you have a question? Call for the questions, what you saying.
I got a question for.
Go right ahead.
So, Henrico County brags that their graduation rate for students in CTE is about 98%. So what is the Lynchburg City Schools graduation rate?
It was 100% last year.
100%.
We had 177 students that were considered CT completers, and all of them graduated. I think the year before that was 98%.
So what's keeping us making that headline news? So we have surpassed the Henrico County.
Well, it's CT across the state. The one thing that's nice about CT is it does reach across both aisles. It is very supported, and for that reason, because it's, across the state, everybody has a high graduation rate of students that commit to it. Now, I will tell you, I don't know the previous CTE director here, but I promise you, I will be promoting Lynchburg City CTE harder than anyone ever has. And those things that I can get out there, like I said, if I'm willing to get my hair cut on TV, I'm willing just about to do anything for our students.
Good. Keep
Thank you.
Keep on telling the story. All right, is there any further discussion on the motion that is on the floor at this time? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
School Board Member Ms. Preston.
Yes.
School Board Member Mr. Charles.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Sinha.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Brennan.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Coleman.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Carter.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Gupta.
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Day.
Yes.
School Board Member Mr. Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you, Mr. Dooley. We appreciate your passion.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all again.
Well done.
Thank you.
All right, now we will move back to J1. And members of the board, we had asked that if you had language issues and other matters, I trust that everyone had a chance to convey those concerning J1, School Resource Officer Memorandum of Understanding. And so, Dr. Edwards, if you would.
Yes, so I know that Dr. Wotica said he made all of the adjustments and additions that were sent his way. So I think it's up just for final look through and then approval unless there are additional questions.
All right, if you have not looked, know you have looked, so you see where the changes have been made in relationship to language. And so what is the pleasure of the board tonight, Dr. Gupta?
So I expressed my concern last time too, and I voted no because of the Fourth Amendment issues. On one side is the public safety, the other side is the individual's interest in Fourth Amendment. So having a K-9 search through a non-constitutional officer is not holding well with me. So I
You will
don't.
not be supporting this document?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Anyone else want to speak to any adjustments in language or the MOU in its entirety? It is before our board tonight as unfinished business for action.
And I move that we approve the updated a MOU with the Lynchburg City, with the Lynchburg Police Department regarding the school resource officers.
All right, is there a second to the motion from Dr. Carter, seconded by Dr. Brennan? If you are in favor of this motion, of course, it will afford Dr. Edwards the opportunity to affix her signature to this along with the chief of police, but we would entertain discussion at this time. Dr. Brennan.
I just want to make a comment that since I've been on the board, whenever this comes up, we're always concerned about the role of the SORs in the schools regarding their legal ability versus working with the students. And I think this year, above other years, I'm so impressed by how well the administration has worked with the police department and how this document really does outline very well that we want them to do is be there to help be mentors for our students and help them. And so I think that's done very well. And I'll also say that having been part of a number of discipline meetings, as we all have in the last year or so, I've not had anywhere I felt that that the SRO was inappropriate in their role there. They're usually there to be helpful and have done a good job. So I'm certainly in favor of this and appreciate the administration as well as Chief Ryan Zuderman, his work with our staff to make this work well. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Dr. Gupta.
My concern is not about the SRO or their ability or capability to do that. It's about the individual liberties that the Constitution provides. And Fourth Amendment is one of those pillars where illegal search and seizure is not allowed. And there are court cases where school needs a warrant to search an individual student. So I don't know where the K-9 searches will take us. It's a new addition to this memorandum this year. It was not there in the last year.
Right.
It was not there in the last year's addendum. This is a new addition, and I have not been explained why it is necessary to add to this year's agreement when it was not there for last 4 or 5 years. We've been voting on it.
I can take that, because I did bring that up before we even got to this part of the discussion with the SROs, and one of the reasons why we had been talking about it, particularly as we are experiencing lockdowns and drug paraphernalia and drugs in our schools, that we want our schools to be a place of learning. Our kids want our schools to be a place of learning, and we were thinking of what are additional preventative actions that we could take to keep our schools safe. One of those is the community grant to get the bullet-resistant glass, which we will pilot on EC glass as a starter. Another one was doing somewhat of preventative scans, not of people, not of children, but actually just of our facilities to make sure that they are guns, weapons free, drug paraphernalia free, so that we provide that environment for our kids. So that was the rationale, and you're right, it was not in there last year, but we're seeing an uptick just in the need to have a safer environment, and we're seeing more and more with the violence in our community. We don't want that in our schools.
No, and I don't want it either, but why not ask the police officer to decide whether they'll do a K-9 search or not? Why the superintendent or deputy, because you bypass the requirement of a constitutional officer, what hurdles they need to cross to do the K-9 search by putting an authorization by superintendent and deputy superintendent.
I think the authorization by us eliminated the anybody, right? So what we tried to do is keep it at a higher administrative level, along with the police, so that we're doing, and they would be random. They're not in as a result of, hey, I smell something, let's get the dogs in here, but more random as a preventative way to just kind of police our buildings and keep them safe as far as having any items in the building. And then that randomness, in terms of just that part of it, would be called by either a deputy superintendent or superintendent, rather than individual building principals working with the police. But we will be working in collaboration with our police department, not in isolation of our police department.
So when correct me, I'm not a lawyer, but if a police officer does a search, they got to take a warrant, right?
Yeah, a constitutional officer, yes.
They got to involve a judge in that. So here, basically, a superintendent or deputy superintendent is saying, okay, bring your dogs in and run through my school.
if I may, I see it in a little different light as you, Dr. Gupta. I actually see it as a way for our city school system to almost, in effect, put in a stop check or a sense of control, such that it would preclude potential constitutional officers coming in without some kind of authority or input from the superintendent. So I don't see it as a bypass or workaround. I see it as a stopgap measure wherein the deputy superintendent or the superintendent has to kind of be involved in that particular process. But I may be reading that wrong, but I see it as a stop check versus a trampling of anybody's constitutional rights. But I think that's the intention, am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so, because as I believe now, if they were to get a search warrant, they could just come in on the basis of a search warrant. Under this memorandum of understanding, my feel is that now that, yeah, they can get that, but they have to run it by some city staff, either the superintendent or the deputy superintendent, to, so that those two members or one of the two members are involved in the process. So again, I see it as a stop check.
All right.
A little more control.
Thank you, Dr. Day.
I was just going to read from the proposed language here that, to me,
Come on in.
to me clarifies the issue that Dr. Gupta has raised. It says, canines will be under the supervision of their trained handlers and used to scan property and facilities. Canines will not be used to conduct scans of any individual. So the dogs would only be used to search property and facilities, not a person.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, who has the authority to approve a search of the facilities? Well, certainly either the superintendent or the principal. If the canines were searching an individual, then probably they would need a search warrant for that individual. But this policy is precluding that. There's not going to be canine searches of individuals. It's just property and facilities.
All right, very good point, Dr. Day. Anyone else want to speak to the discussion? Dr. Carter, did you have something you want to say?
No.
Dr. Gupta?
Basically, if I'm running a dog around the locker rooms, what it gives me a precursor to a search warrant from there on, which otherwise you'll have to have substantial cause or evidence to get a warrant. The threshold goes down because my gut feeling says somebody has. And that facility will lead to individuals.
All right. Dr. Gupta is expressing his thoughts, and are there any other thoughts regarding this particular motion before we call for a vote?
On page 11, item C says K-9 unit searchers may work collaboratively with the LPD to solicit the use of certified police canines to conduct random scans on school property, primarily for preventative and deterrent purposes. But that suggests, and I'm speaking as a former principal, I don't want this kid to get in serious trouble because I think that he might have had something going on with him. But if I talk with the superintendent and the SRO, so that person can give me some direction about, do I need to be concerned about this? Does this look like this is a likely? Plus, I know the kid, and there's a lot to be said for that too. Then it gives me some leeway as far as making a decision about what needs to be the appropriate action to take. So I don't see that as difficult, I guess, as you do. And you're concerned about the legal aspect of it. Am I hearing you correctly?
The key word is random. And as I said last time, I don't want to escalate to that level of police state. Because random is willy-nilly, anytime you want, you can just walk in and get a search. The word random is the precursor to conducting searches as and when they seem appropriate, with no cross-check or accountability. Where do the superintendent and deputy superintendent go to get an authorization for the next canine search? whereas a law enforcement officer has to go to a judge and get a, there's a checks and balances there.
Well, and I haven't, may I speak with that?
Please.
I haven't done criminal offense in many years, but I do recall when I would defend children that had been caught with contraband in school, my recollection was actually the school personnel, because they're not constitutional officers, really did not, they could do a search of a backpack without even having necessarily the parent present, which I always found highly disturbing. But that was the state of the law, and I'm expecting it's still the way it is. Because they weren't a constitutional officer, they did not fall under the concern that you have. So, I think if they want to do a random search, the principal can do it. So this actually, I think it's really more of a gaining a little more control by the LCS staff in the conducting of those searches. And it does specifically say will not be utilized against individuals. So the fact that that sentence specifies or limits what these searches, how they can be conducted and upon where they can be conducted, gives me a little bit more comfort in the whole memorandum.
At this point in the discussion, thank you, Mr. Trost, it would appear to me, Dr. Gupta, unless you wanted to propose a language change, maybe eliminating the word random and see if you can get any support for it. I think we have heard your concern, and I think others sharing theirs.
Would we be getting number of searches conducted at the behest of superintendent and deputy superintendent in school number 1, 2, 3, 4? You see, I'm saying the data in that regard.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we know that it's not turning into like Randy has something I smell, that's calling the dogs.
You're asking for reporting on the searches.
Yeah.
All right, I see the superintendent nodding her head. Of course, that's not in the motion as such. That would be some regulations towards it. And so that's good. I don't think there's any further discussion. If not, then Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
School Board Member Ms. Preston?
Yes.
School Board Member Mr. Trost?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Sinha?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Brennan?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Coleman?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Carter?
Yes.
School Board Member Dr. Gupta?
No.
School Board Member Dr. Day?
Yes.
School Board Member Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and Dr. Edwards, you go and sign that and move us along in that regard. All right, we will now go to K1 and 2. We've taken care of 3. And these are action items. They are both calendar related. And so, Dr. Edwards, just move us through 1 and 2.
Okay, so the first calendar change is on the current year's calendar, and it's pulling back 3 days that were unused. We did not use any snow days and very little delayed opening days. So we would meet the 990 requirement for instructional hours. It's adjusting the last 5 bullets that are on the LCS calendar and the last 3 bullets that are on the BAS calendar so that we move back the last day for students from June 1st to May 26th. We will keep graduation dates, plural, the same for both EC Glass and for Heritage High School. This also adds an additional day for 12-month staff on Friday, June 9th, because they don't get they aren't 10-month staff or school staff. And then you can see the same change for BAS calendar there.
All right, as it relates to K1, you can see the proposed adjustment for the 22-23 calendar. Is there a motion, Dr. Gupta?
I'm making a motion to, I don't know where.
I missed that. What are we doing?
We are adjusting the school calendar, the end date for students and staff, 10-month students and staff, from, if you look at the first bullet, from Thursday, June 1st, which is the last day for students on the current calendar, to Friday, May 26th.
Okay.
And then, of course, we had to adjust the professional development day for this teachers. Graduation for EC Glass and for Heritage will remain on the same. We gave 1 additional day to 12-month staff, which is after graduation on June 9th. And we previously had June 19th off. So I just kept that in there so that when we update the calendar, the last 5 bullets will be updated.
Okay.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Dr. Gupta for K1, and it is now seconded by Dr. Carter that the adjustments to the 22-23 calendar will be made as presented. Any further questions or discussion on the motion? Dr. Carter?
I'm glad we did this because I heard from a lot of the other boards at the regional meeting, Laurel Regional meeting, that they were able to give some of their staff the additional spring days off. And I was just looking like this. So now I can perk up.
Had to get past tornado season in Lynchburg, so.
All right, any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll for K1.
School Board Member, Ms. Preston.
Yes.
School Board Member, Mr. Charles.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Sinha.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Brennan.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Coleman.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Carter.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Gupta.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Day.
Yes.
School Board Member, Mr. Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Now move to K2.
Okay, so K2 is on next year's school calendar, so, and only in August, and only for pre-K, our 3 and 4-year-olds. So some of the feedback that I received from the pre-K team, and I know Renee Anderson, who is probably still on Zoom, we may not be able to hear her if we still have Zoom problems, but the pre-K team shared with me that a request to have a little bit more time to get the young people acclimated to school and, you know, moving through the hallways, where the potties are and all those things. So they made a request that we have half the pre-K students attend on the first 2 days during the first week of school, which is Tuesday and Wednesday. The second half attend on Thursday and Friday. And then that following Monday, when we have a full week of school, we'll have the full pre-K class, pre-K classes, all the students together. So that is the adjustment just for pre-K. It's on the table.
All right, thank you. This is very, very, very needed. Dr. Brennan?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the adjustments in the pre-K schedule.
All right, is there a second to Dr. Brennan's motion?
Second.
I think I heard a second from Dr. Sinha. All right, let's come to order. I've got a motion on the floor from Dr. Brennan to approve K2 as stated with the adjustments, and it's been seconded by Dr. Sinha. Any questions or discussion on this motion? Again, this is very important. All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
School Board Member, Ms. Preston.
Yes.
School Board Member, Mr. Trost.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Sinha.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Brennan.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Coleman.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Carter.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Gupta.
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Day.
Yes.
School Board Member, Mr. Andrews.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you so much. Now, we've got a little bit more to go, but I think we've done a fine job, board. We navigated through agendas, not only for tonight, but a previous agenda, and I think we've done relatively well, covering almost 2 meetings in one. Superintendent's comments.
Just real quick, some thank yous to Mr. Aaron Reed and his African-American AP African-American Studies class for inviting me to visit with them last month. I had a great time with them, and what a wonderful opportunity for our students to take that course. And just the camaraderie and the level of conversation and understanding that the kids had was absolutely marvelous. So thank you for that. Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, I was a Leadership Lynchburg panelist for them and their program. And again, thanks to them, some of the work that the group did was in helping us and categorizing some of our resources for our teachers. So we appreciate them. Dr. Wodeka is not here, but he likes to play in dirt. So we had a great time planting the trees at RS Payne. Really cool to see the kids out there just getting involved in nature and enjoying it and asking and answering great questions for that. I had a chance to go to the Vast Spring Conference, which I got to spend time with 5 lawyers, which was great, 5 hilarious lawyers. I learned a lot, so I want to just shout out to that. But part of that conference was also really taking care of the mental health of superintendents. So I'm appreciative to Vast for actually looking out for us for that. Staff appreciation, thank you to everyone who has come and helped hand out Jersey Mikes to our staff. I'm sure they appreciate it. We love the support, and it's just nice to be in the buildings and see the staff as well. And I finally got to take my husband to the prom, although it was the play the prom. So shout out to my husband for coming with me to the prom, and we saw the play on Thursday. And it was just an excellent performance and a lesson well learned by all, and just comedy too. So our kids are truly amazing in their acting ability and their ability to sing and dance. So we need a dance program, Dr. Coleman over there, because our kids are ready for that as well. So I'm glad to do that. And just to the community, trying to support some causes, did a couple 5Ks, probably too many at Point of Honor, Iron Lives, Run for Their Lives, and then, goodness gracious, I just did one yesterday or Sunday and can't even remember what that is. But it's something that I like to do to just support worthy causes in the community. Get out. That's my way of dealing with my mental health and stress, hitting the road. I'm not very good at a 5K, but I do finish. So just want to say thank you to that. So.
Thank you, Dr. Edwards. Thank you for your comments. We're going to now start with Ms. Preston with school board comments.
I wasn't ready. Thank you for all those people that did things to celebrate all of the teachers and staff with Lynchburg City Schools. I got an opportunity to go to a couple of schools, and the people were so appreciative of just taking that time and so forth. Thank you, all of you who are supporting paying teachers more, staff members more, because they don't do it because of the money, but the money certainly helps them to be able to do the things that they do, because a lot of money is out-of-pocket money that they spend. And so this is a way of at least expressing our gratitude to them. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you, Ms. Preston. All right, Mr. Trost.
I've probably said enough tonight, but I'll say a little bit more. I want to continue to just implore the parents, the guardians of our children to come out and support our children, support the LCS initiatives. I was at the Jubilee Center this weekend. It's a fantastic program. I would have loved to have seen some more of our parents or guardians there. There's a lot of good things going on in this community to support our children, and I'm just asking that the parents please make an effort. I know it's an effort, but please make an effort to get out there to continue to support your children, our children, the community's children, and build them up to help them be prosperous, wonderful members of our society. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trost. Dr. Sinha.
Well, I want to thank you, Mr. Chair and Superintendent, for continuing to support our theater and their choice of the prom. I think for this time and period, it was a bold choice, a brave choice, and the right choice. I think it spoke to a lot of children in our schools, younger and older, who are feeling targeted, and gave them a sense of belonging. And the performances were just fantastic. I mean, just unbelievable. And Heritage Theater is just so nice. It really is. It's a very intimate space, really nice. So I was grateful for that. You can't measure that kind of student enthusiasm, learning, and everything that goes into that in an SOL test. Secondly, I was, for the first time, I went to the Suzuki Festival.
Good for you.
And oh my gosh, violin is probably the hardest, one of the hardest instruments. Maybe sitar is a little bit harder. But violin is a very difficult instrument to play. It's very difficult to get them all tuned together and play together, but they sounded wonderful. It was just so spectacular, and we had a wonderful day for it. Sound system was a little bit challenged, and we were sitting off to the side because I couldn't stay for the whole thing, but I'm so glad that I went. I'm so proud of our students for how hard they work, and for the teachers that do this. I think it's a wonderful program. Music is really good for the brain because it requires all kinds of skills and commitment and discipline, and just to see so many children out there with these instruments playing their hearts away is just really wonderful. So I'm so proud about that. Want to thank the public for coming out on behalf of the schools to help try to persuade city council to support our schools, support the arts, support the stuff that's so important. We really, we've heard you, and we're grateful. So there's that, and we'll just keep on keeping on. So that's all I have.
I'm going to follow Dr. Sinha quickly by saying that I also attended the Suzuki Festival, which was phenomenal. So great to see hundreds of kids of different colors, different sizes, different shapes out there playing. It's a great program. Also attended the prom with Dr. Edwards, and it was just a great show, great talent. I'm so sorry that it was marred by comments by certain city council members to criticize it, because it was way above average, and it had a great message as compared to what was advertised. And I also want to thank, again, the speakers at the city council meeting, particularly Dr. James Coleman, Dr. Sam Coleman, the students from LCS who came and spoke. But I just thought, city council, they may not listen, but they have heard that there is tremendous support in this community for our schools. And I think we all have the same feeling about our teachers, and particularly as we do staff appreciation for all of our employees, that we respect them. We want them to have competitive salaries. We want them to stay and continue to work and do this great things that we're hearing about tonight. So I hope that somewhere along the line, at least they know that we appreciate them and the community appreciates them. And it was a very loud message, and I appreciate that message.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha, and thank you, Dr. Brennan. Dr. Carter.
I attended the senior internship presentation for the STEM Academy, and it was awesome. There were 2 students from Liberty High School, 7 from LCS, 5 from Glass, 2 from Heritage, 3 from Jefferson Forest, 3 from Brookfield, 2 from Alta Vista, 1 from Appomattox, 3 from Rustburg, and 3 from Amherst. And they talked about their internship, and you could hear the similar takeaways. One was that they received certification in different fields. Also, they learned the latest technology, and also they were aware of what they're doing, some of the different equipment. And whoever is working at Centra, the anesthesiologist, a lot of the students now are leaning that way. They thought that was just awesome, and so, but they were able to articulate exactly what they're going to be doing, where they're going to school, what they're taking up, what the different steps. So it's like they're prepared. And one student even talked about why, when you have an operation, they always ask, like the females, are you on any type of birth control? Because the chemical makeup of birth control mimics the anesthesia, so that can cut the efficacy of that. So, and just to explain that in general terms, so it was just great. And they had the different places. Internships are just awesome. It's just a way for, as a lot of the students said, to just see now whether that is really the career they want to get into. So I'm just so happy regarding that. Also attended the Interfaith Outreach program and just heard one of the speakers, well, 2 really. One is our own Gloria Preston, Mrs. Preston, talk about education, and it was just amazing. And also now the president of Interfaith Outreach, she talked about experience she had when she was a child in school, that they were in the midst of maybe losing their housing, and how that impacted her. And sometimes I hear people say, kids should behave, they shouldn't have any problems. But you think about, if you were in that situation or in the neighborhood and you heard the gunshots and someone tells you, pay attention, do the SOL test, you have to be, the lady, the president told us how that impacted her. When she went to school, that's all she thought about. When she gets home, will she have a home to go to? So you have to think about those things when kids are facing this. And I want us to keep in mind the RS Payne SOL score. When that comes back, that was a major stressor. And a lot of times you talk about trees, that you can tell what years the stressors were, by how the rings are so tight. So let's just keep that in mind as we look at the SOL, because the first thing they're gonna say, the students are not doing it, but there are factors behind these things. So if we can keep that in mind. The other thing is, parents, I just want you to push your children to get into some type of program, CTEs. If you know they're not going to college, at least they can get into, not least, but they can get into a CTE program and make a lot of money. And more money maybe if you go to a college. And then also that the production of the prom, it was awesome. And I would say that the negative press really boosted it. It was awesome. It was just amazing. And just wanted to thank all of the people that did that. And I also participated in helping with the lunches at R.S. Payne and also T.C. Miller. And at R.S. Payne, a lot of people came in and said, oh, and I said, well, they're really excited about the lunches, but they were more excited about their administrative assistant that moved down here, seeing her back. And what's her name, Carrie? Carrie, yes. So that was so funny. They were just so excited about seeing her there. That's all.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Dr. Gupta.
So my message is for our city manager. I think he's the fiduciary responsibility of our finances. So I'll start with dear sir instead of dear city manager. Our Lynchburg City Schools is like an 18-wheeler. If you make a sharp turn in our finances, it's going to overturn. And when it overturns, that load which flows on the highway will be felt, seen by you and everybody else who lives in the city of Lynchburg. So we gotta be careful. The changes needs to be incremental, not sharp. Because otherwise it'll crash and burn the school district. It'll be very difficult for superintendent to hire anybody. I told you there are 32 resignations and retirements and 8 hirings. And that gap will widen up if you don't give the raises which everybody else in the surrounding districts is getting. Because you drive 3 miles out and you can find a $4,000 more job. That's the threshold. That doesn't mean our teachers are greedy, but it's the nature of the beast because the inflation is high. Every dollar counts at home. So my humble request is please do not crash and burn the school district. Work with us, make these schools better so our kids can progress and be productive citizens in the city of Lynchburg. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Dr. Day.
I have nothing to add.
Thank you, Dr. Day, for all you have added today. Very nicely done. All right, Mr. Andrews.
A couple comments. I did go to the prom theater with my bride and my 2 kids on Friday. It was amazing. I'm a hilltopper at heart, so when I walked into Heritage, I kind of broke out in hives, but I kind of I got over it. I got over it. It was there for the kids, right? So I was like, I'll bear it, man. Pioneer country, just kind of all right. I do want to thank parents and families for continuing to support LCS. Like, we love them. We appreciate everything they're doing, whether it's writing letters, emails, going to council, but just being advocates for us, period, regardless of what's going on. I do want to encourage teachers and staff, classified staff, bus drivers, janitors, administrative assistants, everybody, that we're to be hopeful about the 1550 plan. Like, I haven't given up on it. I'm still want us to continue to work hard on that. I do want to thank Alicia Finney for being, just transparent and sharing the school board process with us, and just all the work that she does down in council. And then the last point I want to make to the LCS staff is to let you know that you're not alone. Your friends in public safety share the same feelings. So when you're going through trauma with kids being shot, hurt, killed in the neighborhoods, communities, we feel the same way. So from the family at Lynchburg Fire Department to LCS family, we're there for you. We understand. Like, we go through the same traumas that you're going through, the same, issues, the same, we beat ourselves up. How can we have made the process a lot better? How can we have gotten there faster? How can we have, given this person more compressions? How can we have, intubated this person, given them, different meds to restart their heart? How can we have, closed that gunshot wound and got them to the hospital a lot sooner. Like, we get it, we understand. So just know that you're not alone. You can always stop by a fire station and have the conversations. I just don't want you to have to deal with that by yourself. All right, so, and that's it. That's all I got. So.
Powerful, Mr. Andrews. Piggybacking off of that, just a shout out to all educators. It's interesting, 9 years ago, I was sitting at a table in Midlothian and pondering whether or not I should make an effort to be on the school board. And two educators at the table said, go right ahead. We need advocates in education. 9 years later, both of those individuals have now moved on. And I just want to thank the board for your support at this very trying time. I'm here tonight because I still hear that educator's voice of 43 years of service. Dr. Loretta Atkinson Coleman said, you get down in there, do what you're supposed to do. Thank you, Dr. Carter, for helping me to first know what the condition was of my mother. Thank you, Dr. Brennan, for the excellent assistance you have given to my parents. And Dr. Gupta is a giant of support. All of you are. So just thank you, and a shout out to all of you who educate. Keep on doing it, because it makes a difference. I think our informational section is obvious for us, May 9th and May 16th. You can do that accordingly. And at this time, distinguished members of the board, pursuant to Code of Virginia, Section 2.23711A1, the school board needs to convene a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following specific matter: superintendent's evaluation. Is there a motion to go into closed meeting? Dr. Gupta has made a motion, seconded by Dr. Carter. Any further questions or discussion on the motion to go into closed meeting? Hearing none, I'll go right ahead, Ms. Day, and call the roll.
School Board Member, Ms. Preston?
Yes.
School Board Member, Mr. Trost?
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Sinha?
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Brennan?
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Coleman?
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Carter?
Yes.
School Board Member, Dr. Gupta? School Board Member, Dr. Day?
Yes.
School Board Member, Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank all of the media and all the folks for being here tonight. I don't know if you need to talk about Dr. Edwards, so we'll take like a 3-minute break here and
Excuse me.
Bless you.
what we need to do. Thank you.